All right, last time I spoke, I lied to you. I was telling you about this great show, and we're going to have all these guests, and we're going to talk Patriots and free agency and the draft, and you're going to love it. And none of that was the lie, thankfully. It was the timing. I said 7 to 11, but we just wrapped up, and right now it's 10:55 on a Friday night. But all of the talk about Field Yates and Devin McCourty and Mike Reiss and Bill Barnwell and Tom Curran and more coming through delivered. We started at 7:30, Fitzy, Doug, and I. We ran through. We raised thousands of dollars for cancer research. If you were a part of that and hung out with us live, thank you. Thank you, thank you, thank you, as you will hear me at the very end of this video express again, because, look, I find in my life, the more you hear people say the same things over and over again, it loses effect. That's just kind of what it is. That's life. But when we tell you we're grateful to your time and your money and your attention, two of three things you can't get back, and the money only if you ask politely to make it 3 out of 3, that means a lot to us. And especially knowing that when you hand it to us, we are going to give it to the best place possible to fight cancer. It is among the best things that I have done or will do in this profession. Now, let's get to the good stuff, shall we? All of those guests, Meghan Ottolini, Devin McCourty, Taylor Kyles, Mike Reiss, Bill Barnwell, Field Yates, Michael Hurley, and Tommy Curran, who was late but made up for it, hung out for a while. They're coming to you now. We had a great show, a funny show, an informative show, lots of takes, draft talk, free agency. Let's get to it right now. Thank you again for donating. And if you would like to continue to donate, at Faxon, Faxon Production, Faxon Productions on Venmo, or just hit me up, email me, DM me, and we'll figure out a way for you to contribute. In the meantime, the Pats free agency party on the Pats Interference Podcast.
All right, timeout. Enough about free agency. Enough about the draft. No more mocks, no more rumors, no more whispers, no more mailbag. It is time to talk, not about football or anything like that. Prizepicks, America's #1 daily fantasy sports app, because when I'm not on this podcast and I'm sitting at home and I'm watching the Celtics, or it could be a hockey game, or it could be a baseball game. Sox are just around the corner. I am playing Prizepicks, and I am winning. And I would like you, as someone who supports this podcast, to win a little bit too. Because right now at Prizepicks, you can win up to 1,000 times your cash and run your game all season long. When you build your lineup, you know the deal. 2 to 6 players, all right? Every single time you go to Prizepicks, online or on the app, you'll see a player, and they'll have a stat. And all you have to do with your lineup is pick the player, go more or less on that stat. It could be Jason Tatum 5 threes. If you think he'll hit him more than 5 threes, he's going to hit more. If you think Kristaps Porzingis will have less than 18 points, hit less. Boom. That's a lineup right there. So 2 to 6 player stat projections over at Prizepicks. Basketball, hockey, baseball around the corner. Of course, football will be back too. And when you sign up today, if you're a new customer, here's the best part. You get $50. 50 instantly after you play your first $5 lineup at Prizepicks. You don't even need to win to get the $50 bonus 50. You just have to play. So sign up today. Download the app and use code CLNS to get $50 instantly after you play your first $5 lineup. Again, download the app today and you will get $50 instantly with the promo code CLNS after you play your first $5 lineup. Prizepicks, run your game.
Patriots pals and Foxborough friends, football freaks, and gridiron geeks, we humbly welcome you to the first ever Pats pre-agency party, a live football chat of much accumulated knowledge and made-up nonsense, engineered and designed to raise funds and money to fight the cowardice that is cancer and deliver some money for research. We have an incredible, esteemed lineup of some of the greatest football minds and sports talkers and savants the world has ever known. And of course, these 3 disreputable scoundrels right here at the helm hosting things. What's up, everybody? Your old pal Nick Fitzy Stevens here, otherwise known as the other guy. So Brian Scalabrine dubbed me, from WEEI Afternoons and the Joker on the Jumbotron for your New England Patriots at home games, surrounded by these 2 beautiful, beautiful people right here. The Patriots beat reporters and expose extraordinarios, as we like to call them in the industry, from the Boston Herald, Doug Kyed and Andrew Callahan. What's up, boys? We finally made it.
We did. I'm excited. Yeah, let's raise some money for cancer research. Obviously, a cause very close to my heart. My daughter Hallie passing away last year of AML. So let's get some good work going here. If you have any questions, send in a super chat, hit that little money sign, ask your question, do all that good stuff. And I'm excited. I've been excited about this since we first started planning it. So I'm ready to go.
I'm just excited to have plans on a Friday night. This is new for me. My wife is sick of me now that it is the off season and I'm around a whole lot more. So yes, please donate via Venmo. You can see the QR code up top. Super chat, you need to click the $ sign that's in there when you jump in if you're on YouTube. Otherwise, we will be here until 10, hanging out, answer your questions. It's $25, whatever you want to know. We're here for you, as well as this star-studded guest, which, Fitzy, I'm glad you separated us from everyone else coming up, because from the hair to the football brain, Field Yates and I do not belong in any same place or conversation except for this stream here tonight.
I know. I was going to say, like, now most people see me usually with a Pats cap or a backwards whatnot. Like, I'm someone who's been blessed with some pretty good lettuce. I don't think there's anyone in the industry that talks football or humors fantasy questions better than Field Yates, who has better salad on top than he does. And he's also a craft beer drinker and been very generous to donate his time tonight. And we're super excited to have him. Okay, so let's set the table again. Like the boys just said, we are here tonight to raise as much money as possible for cancer research to prevent anything like whatever happened to Doug or any families that have been affected by the cowardice of cancer ever again, supporting local hospitals, charities, and the brilliant minds who try to prevent that from ever happening to anyone again. You can donate at Faxon Productions via Venmo. You'll see the QR code and the address right on the up top up there. Venmo. Harold, how do I Venmo? How do I do this? You'll be getting a lot of tech questions tonight. That's one way you can do it as well, or a super chat if you're watching live on YouTube as well. A $25 question and a $25 donation via super chat and up will get you a question answered, hopefully during one of the guest appearances, perhaps here on the up top, if you would like to ask our esteemed panel here. $50 or more, this is a little bonus that was thrown in right here before broadcast tonight. A $50 donation or higher not only will get you a super chat question of one of our guests, but also will enter you into a drawing for not one, not two, but three, count them, 3 tickets next Tuesday night, March 11th, to the TD Garden to see what used to be the Boston Bruins. It'll now be the Providence Bruins hosting the Florida Panthers of all teams, except no, pump the brakes, kids. Brad Marchand will not be there because he is still injured, and we're all sort of reeling from that. Quick reaction about that one, boys. That was kind of a shocker, to say the least, huh?
Is it worse that like your ex is not showing up, but you have to see their whole like new family or the family of like their new person, their new partner that they're coming with? Because that will be the Panthers here coming in much richer than you, much more handsome than you, going bigger, better places that Florida is going to be. Like, I'm fascinated by the dynamic of that game. I might go on my own. I will not be sitting in the club seats. Like, right. Whoever wins these 3 tickets will be sitting in the club seats. Never done that. Probably will never do that in my life. But that got a whole lot more interesting. And I also applaud you, Fitzy, knowing you had to talk a lot of hockey today professionally, when really all you wanted to do is what we're doing here tonight.
So, I want people to do something in the comments real quick. All the hockey experts, I want you to put this trade in Patriots terms so that those people like Andrew, like Fitzy, like me, who might not follow the Bruins quite as much, to fully understand, because I personally was pretty shocked at the return the Bruins were able to get on this trade. So I'd love you to put this in Patriots terms with a Patriots player, past, future, present, whatever, and some sort of draft capital for what this trade actually means for in Patriots terms.
So my first, actually, because I only speak football, and that's why it sounds like I'm playing left field with an arm tied behind my back and a frying pan in the other on roller skates whenever I talk hockey. On the air, Doug, mine was trading 2019 Julian Edelman to the Chiefs.
Yeah. For what, like
same kind of guy,
6th round pick or something like that.
Yeah, for like a 5th round pick or something. Yeah. Just being like, no, I can't see it. No, he's going to win a Super Bowl with that asshole. No, God, no, it's disgusting. Like, I feel terribly for Bruins fans. They are some of the best fans in the world. The Causeway is the best place to party before playoff games. They're hale, they're hearty, they're real, they're awesome, and they deserve the best. But I think it was strip it down to the studs time for sure for them. So I know that was a tough one, to say the least.
And Charlie Coyle going too. Like, that's Edelman's the guy I thought of with a bad knee. Like, I've heard he just straight can't jump up and down. And this is not to be reported or aggregated. It's not Hockey Reporter here. But the last person I saw not be able to jump and still produce was one Julian Edelman in the COVID year, who has the game of his life with Cam Newton in the most random week 2 game in a loss in Seattle. No one's seen anything like that since, and he petered out from there.
Don't get me going on that game, Callahan. That game, I don't know if I have cheered as loud since the Patriots make the playoffs on the regular at a game. That Sunday night, I was almost through the ceiling on that game. That 60-yarder to Edelman was a laser from Cam. And I'm a Cam stan in a Pats uniform.
Devin McCourty with the pick 6 in that game too. I don't think we'll ask him about that, but we got some good stuff for him.
We will talk to him later on here, though. So that's
and James White, of course, that like had gone through that traumatic incident, losing a parent as well. So it was a very emotional night for everybody involved, as is tonight as well. So Guys, the lineup of guests is awesome. Mego at 7:45. D-Mac and a special guest at 8 o'clock. 8:15, we have Taylor Kyles from CLNS. 8:30, the almighty and powerful Mike Reiss. 8:45, Bill Barnwell from ESPN. 9 o'clock, fantasy guru extraordinaire and craft beer savant Field Yates. 9:15, the hot mess not wearing a dress that is Mike Hurley. And the closer, the Troy Percival, because he'll probably be just as jacked up as Percival used to be in the Angels bullpen, Tom Curran from NBC Sports Boston. I see Mego is in the queue. We're going to jump to her in just 1 second. We've had some super chat donations so far. Thank you very much. Savage Sports, you guys love him. As I call him in Roman times, Aggregatorius the Great does an awesome job on the socials, providing you guys with the best in Boston sports information, stories, and more. Thank you, Justin Strickland, for your donation. And Savage, let's see. Here we go. Justin's question first. Do the Patriots with the new regime consider Mondre an elite back with the issues he had last year in his contract, even if they could draft, let's say, a Dylan Sampson or RJ Harvey for a dynamic James White type role? It's a good question. And boys, I'll just say, and I know Mego can speak to this momentarily, I have wanted the Patriots to get back to their guys. I know McDaniel's offense is going to look different this year because he's been studying to mutate it and adapt to Drake May and the modern NFL offense. But man, do I miss the third down wide receiver and the Shane Vereen Woodhead, James White scat back.
Yeah, for sure. And I would say that from the people that I've talked to, and we talked to a lot of people down at the Combine, people still seem pretty high on Ramondre Stevenson, that, yeah, he was fumbling, but they still trust him. They still believe in him. There's people in the building who still believe that he can be one of the best running backs in the NFL. It really was kind of an anomaly that he was fumbling as much as he was. And Mike Vrabel even talked about this on some radio show, that, the guys in front of him have to do their jobs as well, because he seemed like he felt like some of the blocking was leading to some of those fumbles, because Stevenson was really getting hit before he even got his footing on a carry. So I do think that they still do believe in Ramondre Stevenson, but I heard multiple times, including Elliott Wolf on the record, talking about how strong this running back draft class is. So certainly would not be surprised if they come away from this draft with still one or two running backs, maybe an early down guy who can share the role with Ramondre Stevenson, maybe a pass catcher who could share a role with Antonio Gibson. Best teams have 4 good running backs. So if you can take 2 good running backs in this draft, if you can fill your needs for free agency, I think it'll be really smart.
Yeah, and Callahan, I just wanted to add to the Ramondre thing. Remember, the week 1 win, which threw the entire season off because it uncalibrated all of our expectations or sent them in the wrong direction. Of Ramondre's 128 rushing yards, 124 came after contact.
Yes, I would love to see those 4 yards that he got. Just was like, oh, I can get across the line. Did he feel like he was teleporting? The things were so easy. It's like, is this a trap? To add to Doug's point, look, everyone that we talked to on and off the record, back Ramondre, it was like he had a lobbyist out there just doing him a solid. Like, forget the fumbles, don't worry about it. Here's a 20. But look, I think he's still got potential to be a blue chip player. We've not really seen him except for his rookie year with a functional offensive line. That's coming. I still would expect them to add somewhere in the middle rounds because of the depth of the draft. And Antonio Gibson's got 2 years left in his deal, but we all know the last year and the 3-year contract, it's kind of funny money. So I think Gibson's got more time here, but they'll want to add and kind of plan out for the future, and for Vrabel at a lot of positions to kind of just get his own guys. Yeah, I too love some of the backs. I know this draft, and we're about to kick things off with Mego, who's been studying the draft a whole lot for us over at EEI and the Six Rings podcast. But this draft is deep with a lot of those kind of running backs that may very well fit the mold. I'm a Travion Henderson guy. I know Drake May would love the Patriots to choose chaos and find a way to bring Omarion Hampton on there. Yeah. And I sent a Bears fan friend today a tweet saying that right now the possible number 1 target for the Bears at 10 would be Ashton Genty. And all I can say is, with a repaired line and a brilliant mind like Ben Johnson, Caleb Williams, and some decent receivers, getting somebody like Genty would just be absolutely spectacular, because, it seems like with his relative athletic score, he's testing off the charts and might be Saquon-esque for somebody else. Could be pretty awesome. But all right, let's we have a couple other super chat questions that are piling up. We'll get to those as the show rolls on. Thank you, guys. We have over 2,000 people watching live right now across the CLNS, Doug Kyed, Pat's Interference, Pat's Chat, and Fitzy GFY socials. Thank you guys so much for joining us. Let's get to the important stuff. Let's get to the good people. Let's get to why we're actually having this party. The guests.
Coming up first, ladies and gentle friends, she is the class, the refinement, the excellence, and the brilliance at WEEI and on the Six Rings podcast. She also does a phenomenal job with her weekly YouTube show for the Boston Celtics as well. You could fill all the oceans with everything that she knows about football, basketball, and so much more. Ladies and gentlemen, let's make some noise for the wonderful and very talented Miss Meghan Ottolini joining the Pats pre-agency party.
Oh my God.
What an intro.
What an intro. I don't think anyone's described me as that classy in my whole life.
Well, look at you. You
Yeah,
came out.
that was an audition for the McAfee show. You had us clapping right away. You were just saying over.
All right, first, I got to say, Callahan over there.
Yeah.
Going
Let me
down.
stand up here. I got the tank on.
We got Mego here, Doug Kyed, Callahan. Everyone's here going downtown. All right. By the way, it is a BYOB affair. I'm not sure if Mego stirred a proper martini. Shout out to our friends at Vitamin C, our official beverage sponsor of the night. Dino and the crew down there in Weymouth and Plymouth do it up right. So thank you guys. Mego, how we doing tonight?
I'm good. I wish I could be hitting up my martini. I got to do TV in a couple hours. So that would probably be not like the best order of operations, but I'll toast to you guys later in the evening.
Excuse me, waiter. Do you have any more humble brags available? This first one was delicious.
You poor thing. Do you have to go on there with Hurley?
Yes, with Hurley. Yeah,
Ouch.
as they're doing a big hockey show tonight on Boston Sports Tonight on NBC Sports Boston, and they said, let's go get the preeminent hockey expert in New England, Meghan Ottolini. So I got to do it, duty calls.
That is just absolutely fantastic. I thought you were going to show up and just be like, "Hey, boys, Dorothy Parker of football here. Let's all get tight and have a right proper time." All right, Mego. So we've talked about this on Six Rings a number of times as well, and I know you and Shime have kicked it around on the weekends. But just for the audience at large that hasn't had a chance to hear your 10,000-foot view on how the Patriots need to conduct affairs, they've done a great job to date. Free agency begins Monday, draft a month and a half later. What does your ideal rest of the offseason look like for the Patriots?
Well, I mean, there's so many items that you have to hit for the Patriots if you're looking at a real turnaround for next season in one offseason. I think they've done a great job, as you kind of alluded to there, about what they've done with the coaching staff. But I don't have anything extremely new or different to say. It all comes down to the offensive line for me. I think that's the most important point where they have to start in free agency. Hopefully they'll be able to lock down Ronnie Stanley. If they can't, then I think that they're either going to have to go down to a different tier of player or look seriously in the draft for someone who is going to be their left tackle of the future. It's all about the offensive line. To me, it should have been for the last 2 years, and it's the area that they've been neglecting the most, and it is the most important for your rookie quarterback.
Yeah, if you want to boil it down beyond Ronnie Stanley, is there one other guy that you think that they need to come out of free agency, the draft? Is there like one other guy that you've fallen in love with this offseason that you need the Patriots to get?
I mean, I do think that they need to upgrade the wide receiver room, and I put the emphasis on upgrade because the way that wide receiver trade talk works is, I'm sure you guys agree with, or free agency is, oh my God, go get, AJ Brown. Oh my God, what if there is a chance? People think that there's going to be some kind of like Justin Jefferson level guy who's going to shake loose for some reason and come to the Patriots. And I say upgrade, I would look at even somebody like I wrote for WEI yesterday, swinging a trade for Jacoby Myers. He's somebody who worked really well in the McDaniels system, and even maintained a good relationship with McDaniels out in Vegas. And maybe you could bring him back when he had a 1,000+ receiving yard season last year. That's an upgrade. I'm not saying that's like your wide receiver one. I don't know if you're going to be in a position this offseason where you look at a room where you have a wide receiver one. That's where you've been for a couple of years, but I definitely like to see some upgrades.
Andrew, if I may, real quick, on the wide receiver front, we just got a super chat in from Hitman Technique of the Week, which is germane to what Mego was talking about. Thank you for your donation, Hitman. Mego, do you think the Patriots should go after wide receiver Chris Godwin? I'll follow that up with earlier today, our pal Mike Giardi saying, I think also Callahan, did Curran also echo this, that looks like Godwin might be the wide receiver target number one for the Pats?
Yeah, I think my guy Doug Kyed had that. By the way, Fitzy, if we get another super chat from someone called Hitman, I want him to get his question answered right away. I don't want to wait for Hitman to take his time and wonder what his options are. We need to get to him as soon as possible. That said, yes, Godwin is far and away. Giardi report, he's actually watching right now. Hello, Mike. That he's supposed to get more than $25 million. And the Patriots are the driver behind that money bus. So they're responsible. I would go there, Mego, but I don't know where you are in the money for Chris Godwin.
So I guess my only hesitation with Chris Godwin, other than him being 29 years old with a newly surgically repaired ankle, is that if they are going to go that far at above 25 mil a year for Chris Godwin, is that going to make them restrain themselves a little bit more on possible other targets in trades or free agency or whatnot? I hear at the combine that they want to be aggressive, and Vrabel says they know that they're going to have to overspend in free agency in particular. That's how these things work. But then you hear all the pivot talk, and that makes me nervous too. So I guess like if they're going to go out and spend on that much money on somebody for the average annual value, I'd rather it be a tackle. I'd rather it be Ronnie Stanley. I'm just worried that you're going to be in a situation where because you're spending that much cash, you're picking and choosing the players that you're spending it on. And I think there are bigger needs than Godwin would fill.
Yeah, I think they've got enough cap space to add, say a few of those guys, maybe two, maybe three, whatever. Like they have the cap space to do it. It's just about how they want to spend.
Will they
money.
spend the cash? Will they offer, for example, Chris Godwin, or if they go after someone in free agency, will they offer the guaranteed cash? Because historically they haven't really been that team.
And I think Godwin is not necessarily like the sexiest name that's out there right now. Fans would probably rather have Brandon Ayuk or DK Metcalf. But I would say that by the start of free agency, the Patriots will probably have a pretty good idea of where they stand on those trades. So you'd rather them wind up with someone rather than nothing at that wide receiver position. So like you'd rather them spend $25 million on Godwin than wind up with no one.
Right. I totally agree with that. I think I think I'm just a little bit less enthused than some other people, and I feel I need to explain why.
For sure.
Callahan?
Yeah, I think that's fair. There's no excuses anymore, right? Like this is what you rolled over all the cap for. Everyone is very, very, very aware of the cash numbers. If you're the Crafts, you just blew up a whole 3-year vision and perhaps beyond with Gerard Mayo to bring in Mike Vrabel, paid more for moving allowances, paid more for assistant salaries. Like this is it. You cannot have a half measure now with the roster, the product and the labor that separates you and defines every single franchise. It's not just the coaches that change things around. And Chris Godwin has a residual value, which is like, this is kind of cliche, but I've known of him and people who know close to him for a long, long time. He is going to be a captain. He would be an instant locker room guy. And for the most immature room that they have all their positions, Jalen, best hands in the league, Polk, Kayshon Boutte, why aren't you throwing me the ball more? Demario Douglas, week 4, which like, look, they're all in their early 20s. I was doing probably worse things in my early 20s. That guy sets a tone. He helps Drake May. He helps those receivers. He brings the culture Mike Vrabel wants to. So yeah, I'm all in on Godwin, and it shouldn't prevent them. In my opinion, the opportunity cost should be minimal. This is.
Can we follow up there?
Yes,
these worst things you were doing in your early 20s?
No, even this is going to be after like 2 beers or 3. Like,
all right. Well, actually, if we're going to talk early 20s, how many of us, when we were 22, fresh off of school, came home for a night of rowdy consumption with our friends in downtown Boston, got on the tee, a friend busted out a J, and 3 drags in. The tee pulled over between North Quincy and Quincy Center, I think it is. Literally, the engineer walked 6 cars back and he went, "Get off." He opened the door. We had to jump down off the train, off the tracks. I had to walk like 4 miles back home. Highest Kites laughed the entire way. So didn't really feel any pain. But now that I look back upon it, it's like, that's questionable judgment.
Megan, do you have
your favorite media take as of late? Like we've all been doing similar questions, offensive line, receiver. What's your least favorite? Your favorite bad media take as of late?
Does it have to be football?
No.
Okay, I did see, and this was not somebody in media, but I did see a lot of back and forth on Twitter, X, whatever you want to call it today, trying to make comparisons about the fire sale from the Bruins to like every other sport. And the one that got me was somebody said, for the Celtics, this is the equivalent to trading Tatum, Derek White, Kristaps Porzingis. And I was like, this is the worst comparison I've ever heard. First of all, one of these teams just won the championship and is running it back. And the other one is going nowhere. And you're comparing a just newly birthday celebrating 27-year-old to a 37-year-old Brad Marchand. I'm not somebody who usually gets super worked up about crossing sports. I'm fine. Like, some people would like to make a football comparison to everything. Some people would like to compare Larry Bird to every great star who's ever come through Boston. Like, if you want to explain it a different way, that's fine. But you got to make sure it makes sense. Like, to me, I was like, nope, we can't go here. I understand you're upset about Brad Marchand leaving town. You know, that's tough for a lot of Bruins fans to swallow, but that does not make sense.
Let's see if we can squeeze in one more super chat queue for Mego and our final question before we wrap things up. So many questions coming in. Oh, here we go. All right. Let's see. Lift Blue Rocker. Yeah.
Whoa.
Man,
wow.
Stole that from me on the socials. Lift Blue Rocker. What are some under the radar players you think New England could add in free agency? Send in love from the VA. Thank you very much. From one Commonwealth to the next. We appreciate your support tonight. Lit Blue Rocker. Mego, any under the radar guys we've talked about, or perhaps that you have stumbled across that you would like to see the Pats pick up?
Well, I think what's curious to me, and I'd love to hear your guys' perspective on this, your feelings on the free agency market for running backs. You were talking about how strong of a draft this is going to be for running backs. And we've seen over the last several years, the value of that position, really be devalued in the league because of the passing game and because of how short those careers are, the wear and tear, everything. But you look at what Saquon Barkley and other guys who moved in free agency last year were able to do for their teams. Now you pair it with the Eagles, you pair Derrick Henry with the Ravens. I'm wondering for you guys, like, I think that the free agency list of running backs is pretty long and impressive. Is it worth to you going out and actually taking a swing on any of those guys like J.K. Dobbins or anyone out there? Or do you think that that's just kind of throwing your money around when you can pick up somebody in the draft pretty easily?
If someone's cheap enough, I don't mind the idea, but since it is such a strong draft class, like, I would prefer to add youth at that position. As far as like a under the radar guy, the Patriots could target, like, we're talking about wide receivers. I know once again, won't be the sexiest one, but like Joshua Palmer from the Chargers, wouldn't be shocked if some team pays him more than you might expect. But no, as far as free agent running backs go, like I said, if it's cheap enough, maybe to add some depth there, but I prefer to draft one.
Yeah, I would look at defensive tackle, because Doug and I last week in Indy, heard the Patriots are really staring at the possibility that Christian Barmore might not come back. And it's not a case of he's not coming back. They just don't know. So if you put his starter, his next door neighbor, Devon Gotcha, on the trade block, you're like, who's going to replace him? And after Milton Williams, BJ Hill's a name I would look at, DJ Jones, guys who have played in one gap, attacking style fronts, Poona Ford, or Levi O, because I can't say the rest of his name, from Detroit.
Zurke?
Yeah.
Whoa, show off.
Doug, that sounds great.
He's a UW guy.
I love that show on Netflix. It was great.
But that's where I'm looking. Like, if they want to build from the trenches out, it's not just, top of the market guys are bust. That's where the plan B, C, and D is really going to come in. And defensive tackles, I think, an area that we've, after Milton Williams, kind of collectively overlooked.
Mego, one last question before we let you go. I see our next guest is in the queue, hydrating, getting ready to rock and roll. But
Nice.
This question is most germane to you, of course. So last year, your team, the Commanders, did everything that they should do. We obviously don't want the Patriots to flip ownership, but they brought in a new GM, kicked out the jackwagon that was Dan Snyder. Josh Harris comes in, hires Adam Peters, who of course worked with John Lynch. And they go from 4-13 to 12-5. Now, a lot of it had to do with the fact that what they signed, 10 of their guys in free agency started or contributed. They bought the ageless Bobby Wagner in, and then of course your quarterback was off the charts good. They go to 12-5. So, what are just a couple of things or ways the Pats could do to flip their script in 2025 and go from those Pats to Commander-style Patriots?
I got to be honest. I think that what the Commanders did was so surprising, and I wouldn't say unprecedented, but it feels close to that. That I think it's unfair to look at where the Patriots are right now and say, like, oh, well, the Commanders did that last year. Why can't you do that? I think Drake is an outstanding quarterback and hopefully will be in the same tier as Jaden Daniels as they both move forward. I say that for both of them. Like, hopefully they're both top 5, top 10 quarterbacks over the next several years, and we're able to have like this new era of young elite quarterbacks. But to me, like what you mentioned with free agency is interesting. So if the Patriots are able to execute a similar concept to what the Commanders did last year, where it's kind of spreading the money around with a lot of these proven veterans, but none of them are necessarily like a Chris Godwin, where you're giving him 25 million or even north of that in annual average value. I think that that's probably a different kind of style of free agency than a lot of casual or just Patriot fans would like, because you're not going to get some of the spiciest
working
names.
class Mego. No, it's the legit free.
Well, I think that's a little bit harder to sell to people. The other thing I would say that I think is very much in the Patriots' favor that they've already done already is Dan Quinn is a coach who that team like will run through a wall for. They love the players always love Dan Quinn, and they love that guy there. And I think they bought what he was selling hook, line, and sinker as soon as he came to town. And that was an organization that was in the worst possible way, even the season before, like much worse off than the Patriots were in terms of the feeling inside the building, trying to transition out of this old, horrible ownership group and the Snyder era and everything that went along with it, like the building literally falling on top of their fans. So I think like if you have Vrabel be anything compared to that, it's a great start.
Yep, it is. And by the way, also, if you say Dan Quinn's name fast enough, it sounds like a forgotten planet in the Star Wars universe. So just a stupid.
Okay.
My one Star Wars reference
you know
tonight,
I'm not
Callahan.
a Star Wars guy.
You said it was okay. You said, Andrew, you said I could get one Star Wars joke in. That's all I wanted tonight.
One per segment, please. Yeah, Dan Quinn. Yeah.
Also, shout out Sean Tangway. Thank you so much. A $100 super chat. No questions. Just want to support the cause. Sympathies to the Kyed family. Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Sean. That is incredible of you. Mego, great time. Good luck on TV tonight. Yep. Listen to her on the weekends on WEEI. Read her stuff at WEEI.com and follow her at Meghan_Ottolini. We all love you here. We appreciate you so much, and thank you for your time.
Love you guys.
Megan.
Love the Kyed family.
Thank you.
Bye, Mego. And there she goes. Oh, and she gets balloons and confetti. Wow, we're off to a great start.
Before we bring in our next guest, I do want to shout out CLNS. Thank them for all the help that they're doing behind the scenes for us. They deserve all the credit in the world for everything that they're doing to get this on air. So thank you to the CLNS family.
Yeah, and follow Patriots Press Pass on YouTube. That is where all the Patriots content, mine, Greg Bedard, we have Taylor Kyle's a little bit later, all of the podcasts that are there, press conference clip, Pat's Daily, Mike Cadlick, Brian Hines, Alex Barth, follow CLNS. They're making this happen. They do great content. They keep getting better and better. So follow them there.
They do awesome work. And you know who else did awesome work? Guys, I mean, I work in radio and Market 10, so segues are a thing. Shout out 4,100 people watching live. Thank you guys so much for tuning in, helping the cause and spreading the word and helping us do the deed tonight. This guy did a pretty good job at, I don't know, delivering pregame speeches, getting people hyped, or, I don't know, just intercepting passes on Monday Night Football. How about a pick six for the one and only Devin McCourty, everybody? D-Mac, what's up, man?
D-Mac.
How cool is it? The number spiked because everyone thought Mike Reiss was going to come on. So shout out Mike Reiss getting it to 4,000. Let's go, Mike.
Right? People are just like, oh, man, D-Mac, I've heard his stories. I see him on Sunday Night Football. I don't get enough of the pride of Framingham. How you doing tonight, my man?
I'm doing well. How you guys doing?
We're doing all right. I really appreciate you coming on here, first of all.
No problem. Hey, Andrew, I'm living like you. I don't know about the rest of these people. Megan talking about she can't have a drink and go on TV. What are we doing? It's 2025. That's fine.
I don't know how you do radio at EEI if you're not, a little like in the back.
I thought that was normal.
Yeah. What are you sipping?
Little tequila.
Nice. Are you a Reposado or a Blanco?
I'm a Reposado guy.
That's my guy. Got a Reposado.
Exactly.
I'll you know what? I'll put myself in timeout for that one, guys. I apologize. So DMAC, actually, what we've been doing tonight, as you can see, or you may have heard while you were backstage, was if people donate $25, they get to ask a question at some point during the night. 50 or more, they get entered into a Bruins raffle. Or in the case of your friend and ours, Trish Kennedy, has a suite at the stadium, used to own Zudi, team sponsor as well. you could make a massive 4-figure donation before the party even got started to help support the cause towards cancer research. And she said, I want to get this question asked, and I would like Devin to answer it. So I'm going to hit you with a fun one right off the top, buddy. Glad you got the tequila in your hand. Trish asks, Dev, if you or your brother were back and about to go to college, because, Bill loved you guys. I don't know if anyone knows they went to Rutgers. But if you were about to go to college, would you play at University of North Carolina, knowing everything you know about Bill Belichick? I thought that was a great question, actually.
That's good.
I would. I mean, look, I was the special teams player that got drafted in the first round that turned it into 13 years in New England. So I'm hoping Bill and Steve are still in North Carolina, or one of the Belichicks, with Brian being there too. As my son, if he's good enough, and even if he's not good enough, I feel like they owe me a scholarship to North Carolina for at least one of the two boys. So it won't be me, Trish, but one of these young McCourtys will be heading to North Carolina, and I'm excited because I want the gear. I want all the Jordan brand gear. So that would probably be the number one reason why I would go to North Carolina, is for the gear. But Belichick would be a good number two.
That's a headline right there. Devin McCourty sending his son to UNC. It's decided already.
There we go. And they don't even know if he's going to be good yet.
Exactly.
Oh, yeah. I think the excitement is crazy high for North Carolina. I think the TV ratings will be great. I bet those tailgates will be awesome. First episode of College Game Day down there this fall. I think it's going to be spectacular.
Yeah, absolutely.
I know I got a couple of friends who are Duke fans. So I've been talking trash to them, acting like I went to North Carolina. So I'm all for it.
Fitzy, we had a super chat a while back that kind of dovetails with the same question we're asking everyone. If I can pop it up here. Asherad wants to know, what are the Patriots' biggest areas of need? I'll give you 3. Dev, if you can weave that, now that you're a professional broadcaster, media on this end, with an answer to what's your ideal offseason look like? How would you answer both of those questions in one answer?
Get better up front on the offensive line. I mean, I think that's number one. I hate saying get a number one receiver, but get a reliable receiver that's also a veteran presence. I heard you guys talking about Chris Godwin. I'm not saying – I don't think you should overspend crazy for a guy. And then I think they need depth. I would like to see depth in the secondary. I think you can either be really good up front or you could be really good in the back end. And I think when you look at Gonzalez, you look at, Duggar and Peppers being back, I think they should bring Jonathan Jones back. I think Jonathan Jones should be a safety, and I think that gets you the 3 safety look. Terrell Williams in Detroit, when Ife Melifonwu came back, that gave them their 3 safety set. And the year before with Gardner Johnson, they had 3 safety sets with Branch playing in the nickel. I think John Jones could play that kind of role. You have Marcus Jones there, another guy who, when he's healthy, he's played well for him at corner. But I think even adding another corner in free agency is like one of those not high on the priority list, but I think could allow them to get back to being like a really good defense if they could hang their hat on being really good in the secondary.
For sure. They're looking at some nickel guys out there right now. Obviously, some outside cornerbacks are good out there too. Do you have one free agent that you like the most in this class that you think that would really fit with what Terrell Williams, Mike Vrabel, Josh McDaniels, all those guys are trying to do in New England?
I mean, I look at it, I think both sides. I think Milton Williams on defense, and I think Ronnie Stanley on offense. And it's not sexy, but I think when you want to start to build a team and you want to start to say, hey, this is what we want to hang our hats on, I think of Vrabel as like this tough guy. You want to play a certain style. I think investing in that shows everybody, your players and, the media, everyone else, that, hey, this is what we're going to be built on. To me, it's very similar to the Chargers deciding to draft Joe Alt this year and saying, this is what we're going to do. And not the perfect season, but they were in the playoffs this year. And I think what you invest in and who you invest in shows and sends a message to everybody. And then hopefully you start to move in that direction.
Yeah, Dev, I think the Patriots are in a position right now where, let's say there's rumored interest in Javon Holland for $15 million a year, or they like this D lineman, this guard. Oh, wait a second. They have like 9 guards on the team already. There's such a dearth of talent. There are so few blue chip players on there. just bring in good football players and let the rest of it like sift through, sort out, and the best players will win. Like I don't see having 3 good safeties as a problem. I don't see having 4 good guards as a problem on a team where last year you were last in pass rush, last in pass protection, and last in run blocking. But otherwise, 2024 was lit.
And one of the interesting things is that we don't know how this coaching staff views the roster. Like, that hasn't really shaken out yet. So like you just said, what's wrong with having 3 good safeties? We don't know how they view what they have at safety right now. Do they like, having Jabril and Kyle, both kind of strong safeties, guys that'll knock your heads off, can play down at linebacker? Do they like that? Is that what Terrell Williams wants to build on? So we don't know. They could be sitting there saying Javon Holland's a priority because we want a true kind of free safety. Like, that's I think the hard thing to truly figure out, because you have Vrabel in Tennessee, and it was unique because you had Derrick Henry, and you're not going to get Derrick Henry. You're not going to find a guy like Derrick Henry. You're not going to find a guy like A.J. Brown. Like, those 2 guys are so different. So we can't just automatically think they're going to build the team that way, because I would also say I think the ceiling is higher for Drake May at the time when they had Ryan Tannehill. So it's hard to predict that, as we sit here and say, like, this player is good, they got to find a way. Like, they might be like, hey, he was great. I mean, good job for what you did for the Patriots, but this isn't what we see going forward. And they might want to replace certain guys that we think are shoo-ins.
So, Deb, we got a couple questions in our chat here that I want to get to in a second. But real quick, there's a story I did a number of years ago where I learned Wednesday morning, you guys were in the team meeting, Bill would be part professor and psychologist and historian and break down every single team down to their core, how they thought, what they want to do, and how they're going to do it on Sunday. When you prep for Mike Vrabel's Titans in 18, and then 19 in that wild card game, and then 21 when you had him at home and blew him out, aside from Derrick Henry and A.J. Brown, what elements of what Bill was telling you guys do you think will resurface in New England about how this team will play, what they want to do, and how they think?
What do you mean besides Derrick Henry? In a playoff game, he ran for like 175 yards. But I think that the thing you have to be prepared for is some of the things you might not see all the time. Like, they went 2-3 tight ends. They did different things like that of getting big. And then they had Jonnu Smith, who could also play a little bit of like a pseudo wide receiver. So I think being prepared for the kind of unexpected. And I think on the other side, defense, like when you're preparing for their defenses, be prepared for them to stop what you do well. I think that's at the core of Mike Vrabel with all of the New England background, Bill Parcells, Bill Belichick, of you're not going to come out and think, hey, we're really good at, throwing the ball outside, and that they're not going to have a plan to stop that. I think those kind of key things. It's going to be a tough football game from an offensive standpoint. I don't care who the running back is. He's going to probably try to win the game up front, running the ball, and then play to their strengths. But I think that's the key. It's going to be, how do we play to our strengths? Josh McDaniels, we know that's what he's about. And then how do we take away what you do best? A little bit of it is the old school Patriot way of the time I was there, the time Vrabel was there. I could see some of that coming up. I think the style and all of that will be different, but I think the core of what they're going to want to do is going to be based on those things.
All right. And since now you have to dabble in, your primary gig is in sports media as well, the playing days, the red jacket to come, the Lombardi trophies, and the big speeches are behind. And now there you are on Sunday Night Football representing for Pats Nation and all good football fandom. We'd love to know, what is your favorite worst take in football or sports that you've stumbled across, maybe while doing Sunday Night Football or recently? Did you read something and just go like, damn, you got to be kidding me?
What I always hate this time of year is how the draft, like, projections change. Like, this guy, clear cut. Like, he's going to – and then nothing else happens, right? Combine, like, even once the pro days are over, all ought to be over. And then you will start seeing all these reports. I'm hearing, maybe Shador, maybe he is just a second-round draft pick. Maybe he's not. And it's like, well, like, where, how, who? Like, tell us how all of these things just continue to move in the draft, where a guy goes from being a no-name guy, and then all of a sudden it's like, wow, he's really good. It's like, well, was he not good when you watched him at the Senior Bowl or when you watched his tape? Like that, I hate that the most. And then we're going to see somebody fall in the draft and they're going to be a stud and we're going to be sitting there and then they're going to be like 25 media people who are going to be like retweeting their tweets from back then of, I said, I told you guys, and I studied the film. And then all the other bad draft takes we're never going to hear from ever again. So I hate this time with the draft of guys sliding and moving up purely off of nothing other than just time.
Spoken as a guy who slid in the draft. Obviously, Devin's upset about being projected top 15, and you.
No, they said I was going to be a third rounder.
True.
No way.
Yeah,
I was sitting there watching the draft and like, I hope
first.
they take Kyle Wilson. Hope they take Kyle Wilson. Devin McCourty comes off the board. It's like, who's this guy?
I got drafted instead of Des Bryant.
I guess. Yeah.
I was going to say, like, is now the time where it's okay to say, I was on an airplane, Dev. I was about to take off and fly from New York to LA, and I'm tracking the draft on my phone, and I'm waiting for like Des Bryant. And then we took off and they made me shut my phone off. So I had to sit on your name for 6 hours. I was like, who's this guy from Rutgers and why couldn't I get Des Bryant?
Imagine what he would have been tweeting if he had Wi-Fi of how pissed he was in the air, seeing that there's like, and then they were showing gunner clips and talking about how good I was on special teams. He'd have been going nuts.
Those would be
Devin,
deleted by now,
know
though.
what Wi-Fi's like on a plane?
Doug, you're right.
It'd be long gone. Bill was right. Bill was right.
Yep. In the end, Bill was right. Dev, it's always great chatting with you, man. Everything you do is great. You're kicking ass on Sunday Night Football. Obviously, everyone in the chat appreciates you. And by the way, the viewership only went up by 30% during your time here. So
it only matters if everybody else's goes up higher. As long as Tom Curran's doesn't go up higher than mine, I'll feel like shit if Curran gets more viewership than I. That'll piss me off more than anything. Hey, Doug, appreciate you, man. Wouldn't miss this. Love everything you do, and happy I got to come on here and support you tonight, man.
Awesome. Thanks so much, Debbie. The best.
No problem.
Appreciate this,
going,
team.
Keep pounding those beers, Andrew. Don't slow up, man.
This one's for you, pal.
You'll be slurring by Curran.
We got you. That was Devin McCourty, everyone.
Jason. Goodbye, Jason. Yeah.
Bye, J-Mac. Hey, great to see you, buddy. Thanks so much for swinging by tonight, Dev. Happy off season. Be blessed. Oh man, we got to get like, look at that. You give one of the McCourtys a little tequila. Hey, tough act to follow for Taylor Kyles. Like what do they say? Never go on stage after babies, animals, or a McCourty that's drinking tequila. Man, this is awesome. Wow, almost 5,500 people watching live right now. Great chat, amazing donations. Let's queue up a good. This is wonderful. Thank you so much, Nakoti Barrows. This is my favorite chat of the night. No question here, Doug. You're my favorite Patriot beat reporter. Sorry, Andrew. We're all here for all the Callahan slander possible. Best wishes to you from West Virginia. We thank you so much, Nakoti. That's wonderful. Just want to give a quick shout out as well. Guys, people can also donate via Venmo at Faxon Productions or scan the QR code live on screen right now. Let's see. Shout out Joshua Guimond. You have donated $50. Thank you. You are in the Bruins raffle. Ryan McMahon, $20. Thank you so much. Karen Orsini Sarah, $25. That's wonderful. If you got a question, make sure you shoot it to me on my socials at FitzyGFY. Ben Longworth, $25. Slide on in those DMs, and we will try to get you a super chat question answered. Guys, coming up next, this man needs no introduction, which is why I'm going to give him a super long one. No, I'm not. Actually, the guy that is the most Pats positive in the world. He can turn every negative analytic and horrifying all 22 into the most positive, forward-thinking, productive Patriots chat possible. And he's probably the handsomest man on the beat, the one, the only, Taylor Kyles. T. Kyles, what's up, buddy?
I mean, this team has really been testing me the past couple of years, man. But no, I'm excited to be here. Thank y'all so much for having me. I think that Devin McCourty's numbers are safe for viewership. I don't know if I could pass for Jason. I don't know if I'm quite that handsome, but I'm happy to be on, guys.
You're his stand-in tonight as well. We'll call you T-Mac for tonight.
I might need a haircut.
Not Tracy McGrady, but
speaking out.
That is true. Oh,
all right, Callahan, you want to kick things off, big guy?
Yeah, this is not on the rundown. Taylor, you must be a great wingman. Like, I needed you in college if we're doing the optimism in the resume. Like, you just to hype people up the way that we're talking. Like, Vidarian Lowe's giving up his 9th sack of the year, but man, the footwork here was so center. Like, Callahan's like getting his 7th C+, but like he's a good hang after midnight. I could have needed you there. I think. Are you a good wingman?
Oh, ask Ahmed. I'm a pretty good wingman. I mean, he makes it a little bit easier, but I mean, it helps when you got lovely people around you. Darian's a nice guy. I'm like, oh my God, look, this is my buddy Andrew. He's the sweetest guy I've ever seen in your life. And then obviously you're in a corner, like talking to all the important people. At least that's what's going on at the combine. So, good people make it easy.
Good,
right,
good wingman. Hold on. Bullshit. No, he's going to swing by. No, he's going to swing by. He's the guy that accidentally steals the girl. He comes in to help you out. And then Taylor steps in, and then they're like, wait a second. Tall, handsome, super articulate, forward-thinking, progressive. Now I'm going to go with the home of this guy right now.
Luckily, I'm spoken for.
I was going to say, yeah, he's taking the thing. Yeah.
I know you are, and you are a very lucky man as well. And we're lucky to have you. All right, Callahan, take it away.
You and I did this, I think, a month ago. Ideal offseason, lay it out. I accused you of shopping at the dollar store because Patrick McCourty, who's now on everyone's list, so we can say you were first there. But you got a lot of money. How are you spending it? 30, 60 seconds here in the ideal Patriots offseason.
Spend it on whoever wants to take it is my plan, man. I think they're playing with monopoly money. It's not a matter of like how many guys can they get. It's who can you get in the building. I'd love me some Ronnie Stanley, Patrick McCourty, rebuild that Ravens line, throw in another Raven. How about Morgan Moses? Really beef up the trenches. Obviously, I've been like Milton Williams all the way since like November, December. I'd love to see him in the middle. I really like me some Milton Williams. Jamie and Sherwood, 216 pounds. Dude's a thumper. Perfect fit for Vrabel's defense. I'd love some Chris Godwin, too. Still, some stability in the wide receiver core. Maybe trade for a DK or an Ayuk if they can stomach the idea of coming to Massachusetts, which, apparently they're not huge fans of. But go outside to get those receivers if you can. Beef up them trenches and get yourself some defensive playmakers as well.
Love that. Yeah, if you had to boil it down to one guy, either it's in free agency, the draft, like a sleeper. I know you just mentioned a bunch of guys, but if you had to boil it down to one guy that you really want the Patriots to bring in this offseason, who would it be?
If we're talking realism, I think it's Milton Williams. I want to say Ronnie Stanley. I don't know if he's really going to consider the Patriots over the Ravens or the Chiefs, but Milton Williams, I think you can get him. You can throw as much money as he could possibly imagine, and I think he's a guy that's more than just a pass rusher. I think he's a guy who's gotten his hands on some passes. He can bat him down. Creates opportunities for other people. Like he gets his edge rushers some sacks because he's able to force quarterbacks to step up in the pocket. And while he's not a great run defender, I'd like to see what he can do with continued maturation, maybe some more snaps. It could go both ways, but from the tape I've seen of Milton Williams, high energy player, really fits what I think the Patriots are going towards.
So, Taylor, if you could just for my benefit, it's not difficult for anyone to speak to me like I'm a 12-year-old, but for the audience as well, like we hear so many things about the new, what Mike Vrabel likes in a defense, what Terrell Williams is going to be bringing. It's fat. It's a little smaller. It's fast. It's aggressive. It's violent. Schematically speaking, since you understand that so very well, what does that mean? Like, what should Patriots fans expect, look for, and what kind of guys should they expect coming in, like a Milton Williams, hopefully?
Absolutely. Well, really, Belichick defenses as we know them, really they want to be beefy, right? They want to be able to gum up the middle against the run. They want their linebackers to be able to take on contact, but really they want those kind of downhill thumpers. And what we're going to see from this more Mike Vrabel defense is they want speed in an ever-evolving NFL where the passing game is king. I got all the respect in the world for Juwan Bentley. I love the big hits. I love the run defense. And he's damn good in coverage for a guy who's his size. Jelani Tavai is a great Robin when he's on the field, but the reality is we've seen what happens, right? When you get these matchups against these athletic slot receivers or running backs and then these athletic tight ends, it's tough for those guys to hang and really eliminate those guys. Really, they're just, try to mitigate damage. If you get a guy like Jamie and Sherwood, he can play man coverage against tight ends. He can run down the pole or down the middle of the field with these fast guys. You don't really say that about the players the Patriots have had on the roster. And then look at last year, the pass rush kind of stunk because Barmore was really your guy who could do everything. And then you were stuck with the roster full of run stoppers, even as the Patriots tried to evolve. I think Vrabel is going to say, no. We are going to live behind the line of scrimmage, not at the line of scrimmage. That's why I think he gets smaller to try to get into those gaps, add some more speed.
Gotcha.
When you consider all that schematic change and the guys on the roster now who might have had their development stunted either by injury or different position coaches that are no longer here, which is most of them, who do you look at on the roster and say, he's making a year 2 leap? He's making a year 3 leap. And I feel very confident about this even on March 7th.
Keon White, man. Like, what were we hearing from Keon all late last season? I want to be Coach Tard. It felt like he wasn't really getting the motivation and the push. No disrespect to the coaches. That's what the player was telling us. I think he's a guy with all the talent in the world who fits this type of scheme. He's kind of a tweener, right? He's not, for a Belichick defense, he was a little bit too small to live inside. Maybe not a great fit on the outside. With Terrell Williams, they've got two guys who used to be pass rush coordinators on their defensive staff. Maybe you see Keon White continue to develop those outside moves. We know he's a great interior rusher, right? He's elite in that category. Him and Milton Williams, scary thought. But if you can get a Terrell Williams to really round out his game and thrive in this more upfield defense rather than one where he's reading and reacting, I think that's going to fit his style perfectly. The versatility he's got, the motor, all the explosiveness, man. I know that we don't talk about Keon a whole lot because, didn't turn a lot of those pressures into sacks. Maybe we see more production and more, stat piling in 2025.
Yeah, I had a question about linebacker because Andrew and I, just from talking to people down in Indy, want their defense, the Patriots defense, to get faster, like faster at linebacker, faster up front, probably faster in the secondary as well. So if it's not Sherwood, if Sherwood signs somewhere else, is there another linebacker in this free agent class or even in the draft class that you've seen that is that type of like smaller, speedier player, but still actually plays like a linebacker?
For sure. There's Dre Greenlaw, first of all. It seems like the Patriots
that's right.
Robert Saleh style defense, right? They're looking at, you guys reported Byron Murphy Jr., Charvarius Ward, DJ Reed, like they're all in that similar. Okay,
I love Charvarius Ward. I'm such a Charvarius Ward fan. I really am. I love his game. I would love for him to come to Foxborough, Taylor.
He's a baller, man. He's maybe the best cornerback in 2023, where last year was tough. He went through some tragic circumstances. He wants a fresh start, somewhere far away from San Francisco. Maybe the Patriots can give him that. I think he'd be a great fit if they want to go toward that more aggressive style of defense. Also, Nick Bolton. I was kind of, I thought he'd be a guy who was near the top of their list. Is that lighter linebacker who can also play against the run. Been to the Super Bowl multiple times as part of that really good Chiefs defense. And then in the draft, there's a couple guys I got to say I love. UCLA's Carson Schwezinger. Hope I'm saying that right. He looks like the bad guy in a 2000s Disney movie about surfing. But I mean, the dude is smooth as hell. He's just read, find ball, attack ball. Great instincts, incredible speed. He'd be very different from what we're used to. And then my guy, Jeffrey Bassa out of Oregon. I really like him. Converted safety. So again, fits that mold. Those are two guys I think can be leaders of the defense for a long time, make some plays.
I'm here for all the pop cultural references to any players available in free agency or the draft, because when people keep asking like, hey, Fitzy, is Mike Vrabel really that big? I'm like, yeah, no, he's football Hagrid. He walks into the room and he's a good 1.5 feet bigger than everybody else. He's just purely intimidating. I want to ask you just an organic question to all this. When did you develop your love of football and like the analytics and like the way you study film and the way, like you see it a step or two further than everyone else? And sometimes if you're not just like watching on a phone or a laptop or a home computer, I see you like Russell Crowe in A Beautiful Mind, like grease penciling out plays just to fully understand how the X's and the O's and mesh and work together.
Well, first of all, I have to thank my parents for passing along their ADHD. It's been a huge help, to be honest. So I honestly did not watch football. I did not like football until I came to New England. I went to boarding school. Shout out Fessenden, the Fessenden School in Newton. Really didn't like sports or anything. Yeah, until I got to Fezzy. Actually did a camp last year with Joshua Uche. That was really awesome. Got to help out some kids and teach them how to play football. That was
Things
awesome.
worked out for him, so.
Absolutely. Almost got himself a ring. Actually met up with him at Super Bowl. He was in good spirits. But I started watching football when I got here. I honestly didn't know about the dynasty. I just knew everyone was talking about the Patriots all the time. I didn't know who was who. Started watching, then kind of got curious because, I went on the internets when they were playing well and saw everybody like constantly angry. And I was like, I don't understand this. Maybe I need to watch closer. And then kind of got obsessed, man. Just started reading and watching all of you guys. Fitzy, I used to watch your videos, the shit Pats fans say, in my dorm at Fezzy, which is like, I remember the first time I met you, I was like, this is an insane full circle moment. And obviously, like Doug and Andrew, I was reading you guys for a long time, kind of showed me the way. But yeah, from there, it was just I fell in love with the game. And it was just constantly wanting to learn more, reading things from people who knew more than I did, and hoping that I could take in enough information to kind of try to do it my own way. And also, Evan, obviously, is a huge help in everything he's learned. I've just like crammed into my brain over the years as well.
Should we throw one more super chat, Callahan, Taylor's way before we rock and roll on?
Yeah, let's do some transactions. Alex Anthony, $25. Thank you. And you can jump in. Any question you want answered, jump in with the super chat on YouTube, hit the $sign, type away, boom, it's there, and it all goes to support cancer research. He wants to know, can we send Joe Milton to Seattle in a package for DK Metcalf? Any thoughts, especially now that Geno Smith is gone?
Whoa.
I like it, man. I think we kind of saw last year with Joe Milton, not at all someone you thought was going to be an issue in the quarterback room, but didn't seem like someone who, Doug, we talked about this the other day, doesn't really seem like a guy who sees himself as a career backup.
Right.
He wants a chance to compete. So I think it makes a lot of sense to move him. He's got some good things on tape, more than I certainly didn't expect to see what I did, albeit against the Bills backups. But I think he showed some legit upside and playmaking ability. And we all know teams are, one injury from really desperately needing a quarterback. So with no better options right now for Seattle, I say pull the trigger. I love the idea. As long as, again, DK can humble himself and come down and hang out with us in Foxborough, Providence, wherever.
Yeah, but he doesn't like the weather. DeKalen Zacharias Metcalf doesn't like the weather, so F him.
He also said Massachusetts takes too long to say, which I guess that's kind of true. But we've got to like make a case for Massachusetts. We got to make a case for New England on this show, just so that free agents want to come here. It's a nice place. It's a good place to live. Weather's not that bad. I grew up in Seattle. I'm in Massachusetts now. It's not that different. So yeah, Massachusetts not a bad place to live.
One DK to another. Doug, you have to be the point man on this.
What was that? I know, I really do.
One DK to another.
Yeah, what do you do? Come on, Kyed. What are we doing?
One DK who went from Seattle to New England to another. It rains every day in Seattle. Like, Seattle's beautiful. It's great. A lot of pine trees, all that kind of stuff. But it's a great place to raise a family here. I don't know. It's New England's nice. It's good. It's not it's got a step above like Cleveland and Green Bay. No offense to those cities, but like it's kind of crazy to think that now New England is being mentioned in those same conversations. Like, we're not landlocked here, it's a good place. Yeah.
You just heard Taylor legacy pimping for Fessenden out in Newton as well. We're wicked smart up this way.
I'm saying, St. Paul's in New Hampshire, like the New England, we got some places, I gotta also get all my.
Also, Cleveland can take offense. Cleveland can take full offense. There's no offense.
Also, Green Bay. I'm sorry. Green Bay is like a town that's literally stuck in 1984. I swear. It's like a John Hughes movie every single bar you walk into.
Then I think Buffalo's stuck in 1985 then also. So we'll throw Buffalo
honestly,
under the bus as well.
It is like Beautiful Girls. You walk in and like there's Timothy Hutton hitting on Natalie Portman, like everyone's stuck 35 years ago. It's amazing. Have fun at the draft, by the way. Folks, follow him at TKyles39. You're amazing, dude. Your energy is awesome. You're always down for a good cause. You bring knowledge and passion and levity to every occasion, every live stream, every post game. And of course, you were generous with your time here tonight. So we love you, big guy. Thanks so much for swinging by. And everyone follow him through free agency into the draft and well beyond, because you're not going to get wicked smarter any better than Taylor Kyles.
Love you guys. Appreciate you. Everybody donate if you can, please. And thank you. Have a great night, everybody. Cheers.
Thank you so much, Taylor.
Thank you, Taylor.
Great having you on the show tonight. Guys, 6,200 Taylor Kyles, everyone, at TKyles39. 6,200 people watching live right now. We are now officially getting more people than First Things First on FS1 every morning.
That's big. And I don't know. We saw an increase from Devin McCourty to Taylor Kyles. So Devin was talking a big game there.
You want to know why?
Why?
3 words. Mike freaking Reiss. That's why.
Mike, thank you for joining us, Mike. How are you doing today?
Doing great, Fitzy, Andrew, Doug. This one's personal, Doug. Thinking of Hallie.
Yep.
I think we've all been affected. We've all had people that have been affected by cancer. So love the cause of what you guys are doing. Wouldn't miss it. And appreciate everyone out there donating. That's what it's all about.
Absolutely. Yeah. Thanks to everyone for donating. Thanks for everyone for joining. I really appreciate you saying that off the top as well, Mike. And yeah, this is it's a great cause, and it's amazing to see so many people tuning in as well. So shout out to everyone who's just watching too.
Yeah. Thank you so much, everybody. It's amazing, Mike, and appreciate you. Just a little behind the scenes procedural fun knowledge. Mike was supposed to be on at 8. He was graciously bumped back 30 minutes for Devin McCourty. Dev said it was okay if you drew more numbers than him, but he said F that noise if Curran gets more viewers than him.
That's right. That's right. We got to drop him down at 9:30 when
right.
Tom comes on.
And by the way, yeah, you're not a big drinker, Mike. That's mine and Callahan's job. But you and I have met on airplanes, and we have a little snack relationship. Where's the? I was thinking you'd show up with like a charcuterie board or something. Or
That's great, Fitzy. We love this stuff. We're at the combine. I see Doug and Andrew out. I'm just telling you, at the combine this year, I think I had more beers in one night than I had all of last year. And I think I'm still recovering from the combine.
Yeah,
Amateur, Mike Reiss.
What is this, amateur hour? Jesus, come on, Reiss. Well, let's get it started, Mike. One of our favorite follows. He does an awesome job aggregating stuff. Recently, actually just picked up a job as well as an NFL researcher. Carlos, Los Talks Pats on Twitter. Hey, guys, how many free agents do you think New England agrees to terms with on the first day, Mike? I'm going to set the over-under at 3.5. That's actually a really fun question. You should get into radio, Carlos. So, Mike, what do you think?
Yeah, I met Carlos at training camp last summer. He's doing great with his stuff on X. And so, Carlos, great to be with you tonight. I think that's a good one, Fitzy. I like your number just from a standpoint of I think this is more likely to be like 2021 when they came out of the gates. And you guys refresh my memory. Was it Godchow? Was it Judon, Hunter Henry, Jonnu Smith? I don't know if it was all on the first day. Right. But
Hunter Henry kicked off the second day. The first day, if I'm not mistaken, went Jonnu Smith,
Godchow,
Judon, and then Kendrick Bourne.
Aguilar.
No, Green Goblin, Aguilar, Green Goblin, Kendrick.
Oh yeah, Jalen Mills was in there too.
Yeah, there were 7, Mike, and we all use the current parlance of the uncharacteristically aggressive shopping spree.
Yeah, so I think that they'll be aggressive whether they can actually do it. And Andrew, I heard you say it, and I agree. You know, it's one thing to talk about a plan. You got to go execute it now. And I sense, and I'm sure you guys all sense it from your listeners, your followers, like they don't want to hear it anymore. They just want to see the results. And I think that's very fair.
So 30 to 60 seconds, Mike, what's your ideal offseason? Like if they are aggressive and this goes well, I mean, within reason, right? You're a reasonable guy, but give us what you would like to see from them on Monday.
So Andrew, they need a left tackle starter. They need a defensive tackle starter. They need a wide receiver, top 3. They might need a starting off the ball linebacker, as I see it. And they might need a starting corner opposite Christian Gonzalez. I could go on, but I think to me, those are the 5 spots that I look at and say, they got a lot of needs. And I know people say this free agency class maybe isn't great, but based on what they have now, I actually think they can find players that would start for them in those 5 spots I mentioned.
Do you have a favorite corner? Oh, I'm sorry, Doug. I was just going to ask, do you have a favorite corner between DJ Reed, Travarius Ward, or somebody else, Mike?
Sort of like Carlton Davis, but I have to be honest, Fitzy, I haven't really studied the corners as much because I feel like it's an inside out first. So I've been probably more in the trenches.
Yeah, I was just going to ask if there's one guy in free agency that you do like the most, because obviously, like you were saying, like, yeah, maybe not the biggest names in free agency this year, especially with T. Higgins and Trey Smith off the board, but a lot of players in free agency that would absolutely serve as upgrades and be starters on the Patriots. So is there one guy that you look at that just seems like the best fit, or someone that you've kind of fallen in love with through the offseason?
So I'll give you a couple, Doug. I mean, I think Ronnie Stanley's obvious. 1 for the position, 2 for the pedigree, and 3, like, just blow him out of the water. I'd be fine with that. I mean, off from $25 million a year, $27 million a year. I think you could justify it. 1 for the position and 2 for what it would represent. Like it's the suck tax. I mean, that's what we talk about, right? That's what you're paying right now. And if not him, you move to plan B, like they've talked about. Cam Robinson would be my plan B. So the 1-2 right there, get your left tackle in there. Defensive tackle. I'm the Milton Williams camp. I hear you guys talk about him. I like him. I like Levi Onwuzurike, if I said it right. I know you were working on, or Doug, you had it earlier.
There it is.
I was working on it. Yeah, I'm working on it.
We were just Levi. We were Levi owing it.
Levi
Mike,
O.
because,
I like him. I like Deo from the Colts. So I'm giving you a couple names, and then at receiver, I'm good with Godwin. But I actually think on the receiver thing, I'd be willing to be patient because I guess I just haven't given up on the T. Higgins yet. Where does that thing go? And when you make, so my thing now is like all these receivers coming available, I sense people, want to see him make a move and get someone. I think sometimes like there's an element of patience because once you make a move, you take yourself out of anything that might happen in the future. So like that was the thing with Debo. I'm curious you guys' thoughts. People were asking me, why weren't they in on Debo? And my thing was, if you're in on Debo, well, you don't know what's going to happen next. What if T. Higgins does become available?
Right.
Do you take yourself out of that? Do you know what I mean? So those are some of my thoughts.
Real quick on T. Higgins, is that a situation where he's franchised, then they make him available for a trade? Well, would you be willing to give up draft capital for him and then to also sign him to the long-term contract?
I personally would, Doug. Would you guys?
I think it depends on what the pick was, but there's only so many of those guys out there. And like, to your point also, like how many draft day trades have we seen with wide receivers? So like, yeah, if you do take yourself out of that by signing someone for too much money on day one, then you're probably out of it on draft day if someone comes available. So yeah, it is a good point.
So this is a different situation, but because DK Metcalf has not been franchised, but he's available, and that might be a little bit less draft capital, or at least comparable. Mike, if you had your pick between two guys at similar points in their careers, similar style, both play the X position. If you had to trade for T. Higgins or DK Metcalf, where are you there?
I do T, and I'm thinking culturally, probably just my assumption would be maybe just a little closer aligned with the Vrabel culture. Just my sense. I don't know that for sure. And as I answer that, Andrew, I want to ask you guys a question. I do wonder if they missed an opportunity on Christian Kirk, who I liked. I thought the price of a 7th round pick for the 1 year at $15 million. Part of me, as I've thought about, Debo, I was fine with that passing through. The DK, I'm not personally as big on the DK conversation, but that's just me. I like T, but Christian Kirk was one where I thought just based on the price, I wondered why the Patriots weren't in on that, or maybe they were and they didn't get him for whatever reason.
Let me see if I a super fast answer on that one. Just wanted to say about the Patriots wide receiver room. Yes, not terribly talented. Yes, a little inexperienced. Yes, maturity issues galore. So I've heard, but I still don't think we've gotten the proper look at them because they had a guy that was coaching high school 2 years prior to coaching the receivers room last year, Mike. The offensive line was a tire fire, and that's putting it politely. Nothing was functional last year. So before you can even worry about, can Kayshon Boutte be a decent 2 or 3? Can Kendrick Bourne finally live back up to 2021? Can Pop Douglas be that open in a phone booth, as Curran says, kind of guy on third down? You need to get a line in front of. That's why I love your idea as well. As we've been pumping the tires of, just get fat, thick, strong, and big on the trenches again to give your plays, your designs, Josh McDaniels, and the talent you might have on the field time to get open, evolve, or grow. So before you worry about, do I need to throw money at Debo or do I need to get this guy? Maybe we don't splash and get a sexy number 1 or an alpha dog this year, but at least you give them time to develop and showcase what talent they have. Maybe sign a good receiver, draft some people, and then see what happens. That's just my 2 cents. I know it's not sexy, but I'm just kind of going utilitarian there. For Christian Kirk, I would say that I'm fine with them aiming higher than Christian Kirk in that situation. So that would be my opinion on it. Obviously, didn't have to give up a lot of draft capital, but still eating up a decent chunk of cap space. And I certainly, listen, I'm not relying on Jalen Polk next year. Anything that you get out of him is gravy. But was hearing from someone at the combine that they viewed Jalen Polk as a slot option. They didn't like him playing outside last year. They thought they were kind of forced into that. So it's another element where I wouldn't mind seeing what Jalen Polk looks like in the slot. Once again, you can't rely on him to be a starter, but you've got some guys you can play in the slot there. If you can hugely upgrade with Chris Godwin, I like that. Kirk's just been injured a little bit too much maybe for my liking recently.
That's fair.
Yeah.
All right, Mike, before we get you out of here, which, I'm never rushing you anywhere. You do what you like. You walk where you be. You do anything, and this is fine by me, including greeting my mother at a Springsteen concert over the summer. She still talks about it.
I hope to see Mike Reiss at the Yacht Rock Review this summer as well.
I'm surprised my mom didn't walk off with Mike Reiss and leave me to get a ride home or Uber. The question for me
Andrew, I'd like you to meet your new father-in-law,
Yes.
Michael. Andrew.
Honestly, no protest. But the question I have for you is, you do such a great job of illuminating the corners of the organization very often in your Sunday notes that we're not looking for, as familiar with, things that have changed or are developing, percolating. Obviously, a lot of change in the organization, whether it stems from the front office or Mike Vrabel or ownership. What's something we don't know yet about the new regime that is happening, might come up Sunday, or is more conservatively something to keep an eye on that no one's really paying attention to right now with this new regime?
So you guys wrote a little bit on Stretch, who I think is fascinating. This is Mike Vrabel's right-hand man, and really unique in that he's like Vrabel's right-hand man, but he's not Ernie Adams, because he also might be more like Scott Pioli, but he also might be more like a Nick Caserio, who's up in the coaching booth. So that's really fascinating to me. But since you guys already wrote about that, I want to say something that it hasn't been written about or talked about. So how about who just left, Patrick Stewart, director of pro personnel? I was curious, I don't know if you guys were, like this idea of all these players are getting released over the last 3-4 days.
Right.
Free agency is about to start, and they just lose their director of pro personnel. I'm like, is this sort of a big deal? Like what are you going to do? And I think what I learned, and you probably know this, is the feeling was most of Pat Stewart's work was done at this point. So it's not like there's a scramble that they, at this time that they lost him, and they will. That is an important position that they'll fill, but there's not like an urgency to fill that like today, because free agency is about to start on Monday. They feel like they got all the important work done, and that they have, between Vrabel, Elliott Wolf, Ryan Cowden, Stretch, Matt Groh, Cam Robinson, Cam Williams, I should say.
Alonzo Highsmith.
Alonzo Highsmith. Thank you, Doug. That they have enough people in there, and there's more to do what they need to do.
For sure.
Yeah, and it seems like, Mike, the big thing also too behind the scenes is that in talking with these two gentlemen here and Curran and Giardi, there's like a hive mind thinking to like, I know this is overused, but it's still I think it's so very applicable. It's just going to feel like adults back in the room. It feels like people that have done this before, that are good at this, not just competent and experienced, but people that are good at this are back, and everyone can just like take a breath. Like that's why it's nice to talk Patriots again, not just for fundraising purposes tonight, but to also get together with friends and colleagues and do it because it's fun to talk about it. There's optimism. We're all looking forward to going on the stadium. We're all looking forward to greeting the fans and sitting around and typing up reports afterward, because look, it seems like this is going to be a fun team that has a chance, and maybe they go 7-10 next year, 9-8, 6-11, whatever, but they'll take the fight to other teams and they'll give you a representative product of the hardworking fans, the people that look forward to taking Sunday fun day off and enjoying football again. And you can't ask for much more.
I agree with that, Fitzy. And I would just add to what we said before. Like, I agree, but they got to go execute right now. And they need players. Just going through the roster, it's a little scary as to how barren it is in certain places. And starting Monday, like, this is a chance to start plugging some of those holes.
Absolutely. You guys can follow. You already follow him at Mike Reiss on the socials. If you don't, what's wrong with you? I mean, honestly, people, what's freaking wrong with you if you don't follow Mike Reiss? He's the mayor of Framingham. He's the king of Pats Nation. Friend to all, Mike. We love you. We thank you so much for jumping in and helping us out tonight. We appreciate it.
Thanks so much,
you guys. Definitely
appreciate it. Knowledge is king. That's why you rule. So we'll see you sometime soon. Mike Reiss, everybody. Gentlemen, before we welcome our next guest in, we have been doing this for almost an hour and a half. I do have to use the facilities. So can you guys answer a super chat before we bring Bill Barnwell to the fore?
Absolutely.
Yeah, for sure. And also just a reminder, people have been dropping in donations with the super chat YouTube. You just have to click the $sign. It's right where you would leave a comment. All this money is going to the best place possible. It's to help cure cancer and do cancer research. We all know the story with Doug's daughter, Hallie. This is to help prevent that from ever happening again. And they're a long ways away, but we get closer with every single dollar and every single day that you can help out and support. So you can do it there or Venmo. There's a QR code there. As long as Faxon, Faxon Productions, $5 counts, $1 counts. But if you go to 25, you will get your question answered guaranteed. And I think we should start here. Alex Anthony with a follow-up. You, sir, have made the Super Chat Hall of Fame. Is there a running back that could come in and steal carries from Ramondre Stevenson, Doug?
Probably not there is in free agency, but I don't think that you would necessarily want to sign that guy since you just signed Ramondre Stevenson to an extension. And that extension hasn't actually even officially kicked in yet at this point. But if they draft a running back if they fill their major needs in free agency, and then that opens up the draft to just take the best players available. And if that best player available is a running back in the second or third round, then yeah, that guy could certainly steal carries from Ramondre Stevenson. This new regime doesn't really owe Ramondre Stevenson anything. Obviously, Josh McDaniels has history with him in 2021, but it's going to be a clean slate for a lot of these guys under Mike Vrabel, under Josh McDaniels. And if someone's better, then I think that they will be getting the snaps and getting the touches.
Okay, I will not have as good an answer to this as our next guest. So Fitz, you wanted to wait. I'm going to bring in Bill Barnwell right now.
There we go.
The smartest person we have on here. Bill Barnwell, welcome, sir. You heard the question. You heard Doug's answer. Do you have any agreements, disagreements? Anyone come to mind?
To me, this is a draft situation just because of the depth that we've seen in this year's draft class. I think Doug's exactly correct in terms of if you get your shopping done in free agency for the spots that have to be filled. Left tackle, we're going to talk about, I'm sure, probably wide receiver, probably a speedier wide receiver. Edge rusher, I assume, is going to be part of the discussion here. If you get those spots filled and you're now free to go best available player deep into the draft, not just in round one, because I don't think they're going to be an Ashton Johnty team, but maybe in round 3, round 4, where you have those later picks. Maybe they're trading down, moving around during the draft. To me, I don't think there's anything wrong with the idea of adding a player to that running back depth chart, even if you do still believe Ramondre Stevenson is going to be your guy.
Yeah, and Ramondre Stevenson certainly still has the potential to be the guy. I think, like we said earlier in the show, like people in the building still believe in him, but smart teams do take a running back every few years, just add a little bit more juice and youth to that position. Bill, first of all, I want to say thank you so much for joining us on this show. Bill's one of my good friends, so always good to see you and chat with you. I know you're coming here with a little bit of a different perspective, a lot of Patriots-centric experts.
I'm not Mike freaking Reiss I'm following on the show. Ridiculous.
I know it's always right. I mean, he's a living legend, Bill.
I'm the Cam Newton of this show, is what it boils down to.
Yeah, but
at least you're not Jared Stidham.
You're talking to the Cam Newton stan here, who appreciates the fact that he tried really hard and brought some energy. Plus,
that Seahawks game was fun.
You have great flow too. So
we're not setting up though Field Yates to be the Mac Jones that follows.
Ooh.
Oh no, that is
Oh no.
I just got an email. Sorry guys, I'm busy. Can't make my 9 o'clock time. Field Yates.
I think that makes Michael Hurley the Bailey Zappi, which does seem somewhat fitting, but
catching strays and he's not even here.
Listen, multiple strays already in this show, but like I said, you're coming from a national perspective here.
Yep.
For you, what does the ideal offseason for the Patriots look like? Do they try to fill all their needs? Do they spend a bunch of money in free agency? Do they make some trades? What do you think they should do as we head into March 10th?
Okay, so I think there's a few non-negotiables for me, right? I mean, obviously, if a DK Metcalf comes available for a 5th-round pick, you'd make that trade probably, but you get the idea. I mean, it's not just there are certain things that are nice if you can get them, and there are certain things that are just total non-negotiables. To me, I think it starts with the offensive line. It starts with left tackle. You have to have a solution you feel confident is going to be, at least if he's healthy, is going to start 17 games at left tackle. Whether that's Ronnie Stanley, whether it's someone else, whether it's a guy you're drafting. That thing that Belichick did where they were rotating linemen in and out as the year would go along, guys seemed like they would kind of have jobs or kind of not have jobs, depending on who it was. That does not work. It works when you're winning. It does not work when you're struggling. We saw last year, there were guys who were going from, off the street to into the starting lineup and vice versa. That's just not sustainable. I would say a left tackle. And also on the right side, I think the Kraft should have to publicly apologize if at any point Mike Onwenu is moved from right guard to right tackle or left guard. If that possibility is brought up, he has to stay in one spot. This should be the Kraft should have to apologize at Patriot Place if they move him at any point. So having an offensive line where just everybody's in the same spot, where you can build some continuity, where you know what the guy next to you is going to do, where you know what the guy's next to you's name is, which I feel like was probably not the case for the Patriots at different points last year. So you fix that. Mentioned adding some speed at wide receiver. I don't know if that's a Darius Slayton. I think the Tutu Atwell signing is a little ominous for the free agent class, just because it felt like, a guy who's kind of a marginal player. I kind of had him in the $4 million range, got 10 guaranteed. Makes me think that there's a market for, I think Jeremy Fowler put it, those speedier guys, just not that many of them. A lot of veterans are in free agency, but not a lot of the speedy downfield guys. So that's going to be a concern to me. I think they have to address that at some point. If that involves moving Jalen Polk inside and maybe trying a different solution there in the slot, I think that's fine. I don't think you're giving up on the guys you have, but clearly you don't have enough at receiver. And then I think you're adding some kind of edge rusher to take some of the pressure off of Keon White, hopefully take some of the pressure off of Christian Barmore, hoping he's back. Having some sort of just guy who can win one-on-one, which they did not have after they traded Matt Judon. I think that's the third thing for me. If you can get those three non-negotiables set up, I think from that point forward, you're looking at something closer to let's take the best player available. Let's see who comes available. Let's see who comes open. And then you can kind of operate from there.
Well, Bill knows how football games are won, and obviously getting big and getting strong in the trenches again, Bill, has been a predominant theme to tonight's talk, as it has all off season long. So we have a super chat to that point. How many offensive linemen in a perfect world do you think the Patriots should add this off season? Thank you very much, Devin McCourty, for your generous donation tonight.
Yeah. What, 15, 20, 25?
I was going to say like 7.
Actually, Doug, Bill, we also would have accepted yes.
Yes is a very good answer.
Answer.
I think it depends on what kind of lineman you're adding, right? I mean, certainly it feels like David Andrews is going to be locked in at one spot. Onwenu is going to be locked in at a spot. Mm-hmm. Who knows what we're getting with Cole Strange? If you want to bring Cole Strange back, if you're trading him, maybe, who knows what that situation looks like. There are some players coming back from last year. I think you need at least 2 guys who are locked in starters week 1. Whether that's a draft pick, whether it's Stanley or a veteran, that just begin there. And then I think if you can add depth, there's nothing wrong with adding depth, given how many injuries they had last year, given how difficult a position that is. Maybe they play more 6OL sets. Maybe they go to more jumbo packages. Mike, we're talking about a guy here in Mike Vrabel, who is the king of, weird offensive touchdowns. There's nothing weird about the idea of having extra offensive linemen. So to me, I think you could credibly add 4, maybe two starters and 2 guys you feel like are going to be solid depth players, or people you feel like you're not going to be panicked about if they're in the starting lineup at some point. So I would say 4 is a realistic number to me.
Yeah, I think when people are this thorough covering a league nationally, like your old coworker, Zach Lowe, who I listen to religiously, like more than my wife, more than my mother, anyone in my life, about
neither are listening right now, so it's fine.
I like to envision them as being like the GM. What would their front office kind of look like? And as we kind of come into free agency here, I'm wondering, you, Bill Barnwell, GM of this, let's say, empty team that has a ton of needs, maybe they're even local to us, the New England Patriots. What are some under the radar free agents you go, there's an inefficiency here that I can exploit? There's great value with player X, Y, and Z. Who's Bill Barnwell, GM, looking at in this class?
Ooh, okay, I'll give you a couple guys. On the offensive line, I'll go Patrick Bakari, the Ravens offensive lineman who's played everywhere on the offensive line. He's played left tackle. Yeah. He's played all 5 positions. He's obviously a super versatile player. He's not going to have a huge salary because he only has a little bit of starting experience. Only started the last couple of years, really. Last year was really his first year as a full-time locked-in week 1 starter. The Patriots fans probably don't need me to say that it can be valuable to have a guy who could play multiple positions. Again, I want to leave Mike Onwenu in one spot, but the idea of, okay, if we sign Ronnie Stanley and Ronnie Stanley gets hurt, we have a guy who has experience at left tackle who's played credibly there before. That's promising to me. And then
what about Zeitler? Do you like Kevin Zeitler's available? Do you like him?
I do. There's certainly like just an experience level that I think is nice. He's not going to go to the wrong guy on double teams level that I think is nice. And that at the end of the day might be part of it. Is just, again, having a guy you just feel confident you can just plug in. and just feel like, okay, even if he's not a solution for the next 15 years, at least we know he's not going to get Drake May killed. That to me feels like a step in the right direction. On defense, it's maybe Dayo Odangbo, the Colts edge rusher. Really good underlying numbers, not great sack numbers last year, but good numbers the year before. A player who can play on the inside on passing downs, move around a bit. Probably going to play edge most downs, but maybe a little bit more versatile than a traditional edge rusher. I think those are all positives. I think, again, this team's defense, second half of 2023, they were the best defense in football by EPA per play and points per drive. They were really good on defense, and the reason that Jordan was not here to me is that they fell apart on defense last year. If they get another pass rusher in the mix, you have Christian Gonzalez, who I think is a top 3 cornerback in the NFL. That to me is a defense that's going to be very good. And if we think about how the Patriots can get good fast, I think the defense is more likely to be the driver of that than the offense.
Yeah, absolutely. And I mean, things could not be worse this year on the offensive line than they were last year. Like I kind of feel like people forget that Ben Brown was signed on a Thursday and started on a Sunday. Like just straight, like
he was Baker Mayfield going to the Rams.
Yes.
Yeah. You mentioned guys who didn't know their teammates' names. Ben Brown could not remember 52 names in a 3-day span. So that was as bad as it gets. They know they can't trot Vidarian Lowe out there again this season at left tackle. So they know that one way or the other, they have to bring someone in there. I know this seems a little bit far-fetched, but if the Patriots were to make like a Commanders type improvement this offseason, if they were to sneak into the playoffs somehow,
okay,
what's the blueprint for that for the Patriots?
Okay, so you're looking at some regression towards the mean in terms of turnover regression, and they were like minus 11, I think, last year in that range for the Patriots. Usually when teams are in that range, that tends to actually improve year after year. The Commanders were the worst team in football by turnover margin the year before. So that is something that you would expect to improve. It's so hard to have a really sustainable turnover margin year after year. So if you're really bad at it, it's weirdly good for you moving forward. It's bad for you that year, but it's good for you the next year, which seems kind of weird, but it is true. So you're looking at that. I think the red zone offense, just like the number of disasters they had in the red zone, you feel like that has to improve year after year. They have to be healthier on the line of scrimmage. I think that's part of it as well. The Commanders were one of the healthier teams in the league into the postseason. I mean, think about how many times they played a team. They played the Bucs in the postseason without a bunch of starters. The Lions, who were down 2/3 of their defense in the postseason. That was a big thing for them, just being healthier than the teams they were facing. And then I think you're looking at an offense that is more consistent. I mean, we saw big plays from Drake May last year, but we saw too many games where they would go 4 or 5 drives with 3 and outs without scoring points, taking too many sacks. I think it's eliminating a lot of negative plays. And for Jaden Daniels, they were really great on 4th down, which extended a lot of drives. They were really good on 3rd down, and he was really good at avoiding negative plays. He would turn sacks into incompletions. He would turn incompletions to 4 or 5 yard scrambles. I think that stuff, it doesn't feel like it's a big thing, but it adds up. It accumulates over time. It leaves you on the field more often, makes the defense a little fresher as drives go on. The field position's a tiny bit better for the defense when they take over, even if it turns into a punt from the offense. So I think that stuff, just avoiding the disasters, to me, I think is a big step in the right direction. And that could lead to, I think, a really positive step for the Patriots moving forward.
So you are a Drake May fan, would you say?
Yeah. I mean, I would not admit it if I were on the show and I was not a Drake May fan, just for my sheer safety. But I mean, how can you not be? I mean, you saw him compete all year, make plays all year. You saw, I think, more than glimpses of the guy the Patriots were hoping to see. I think you saw some negative habits and some issues related to the offensive line that I'm hoping you're going to see, corrected with the better coaching staff, with a more consistent offense, with a better run game. But I think he's in a really good spot. He's not as good as Joe Milton. I mean, we saw what Joe Milton did in Week 18, but besides he's pretty good.
Right. He doesn't do backflips like him as well, and he doesn't throw touchdowns on the run against the 4th defense of the Buffalo Bills quite as well.
That pass is going to linger with me for 30 years. I'm going to be in my 70s. Going to be Joe Milton rolled out to the left and hit that dude. What? That was insane.
Dude, he threw a dot on that play. Did you see? Do you have any idea how many Bud Lights were spilled as unnecessary high fives were exchanged in the stadium? I felt them raining down on me in the end zone before I asked a superfluous quiz question to give away.
There's going to be 40,000 people who were going to pretend they were at that game and say, "I saw Joe Milton make that throw."
It's like the final Ted Williams game. I saw his final home. I was there with my mother, my dead grandfather. Yeah, no, it's the stuff of legend for sure. Bill,
Yeah.
can't thank you enough, man. That was awesome. Just Doug, thank you for putting this together and bringing Bill on board. We love reading your stuff. Everything, of course, that everyone can get that isn't behind paywall, but the stuff that is worth paying for as well. Follow him on the socials at Bill Barnwell. Great stuff. Hopefully we'll do this again sometime soon under better pretense as well. But everything that you've done tonight and the energy you brought towards the cause is awesome. So thank you so much.
Yeah, thanks so much, Bill.
guys.
Thanks, Bill.
All right. Thank you so much. Bill Barnwell. Man, it's got to be tough to like be that smart and be that quick and can access. He's a maester of football knowledge, but can just like AI just access all of that information so quickly.
Great try as well.
Margin -11. I was like, this is my job. I have one team.
Yeah,
it has 32 and now a whole draft class, and I'm going.
Meanwhile, I'm just like, the Pats were bad last year. Well, speaking of somebody who loves working for ESPN, who loves answering questions, literally, I know this for a fact, you guys. No one person on planet Earth has had to answer more questions from people that begin with how and end with my fantasy team than the pride of Nantucket, the champion of craft beer, Mel Kiper's stunt double, the one and the only Field Yates joins us right now. Field, it's a long time coming, my friend. Thank you so much.
It is. Let me tilt this down here for a second. We're drinking a little squared circle here. I felt like that was the only way to get ready for this big event. But thanks so much for having me on, guys. Cheers to you all.
Cheers to you. And you know what? Actually,
just one sip. Yeah.
I say everyone knows the rules. Actually, I say this because we're just clowning around, Field.
Dang it.
It's good. It's good beer, man. We appreciate you. Appreciate you jumping on. So we've been kicking off things, and I know the super chats are going to fill up now with people like, if I pay $51, Field will answer my question about my shitty fantasy team. So 8,000 people watching live now. No pressure.
There we go.
So just, I know you're a Pats fan as well. You're a local native. You, the pride of Massholia, like many of us here. What's your 10,000-foot take on what would be an optimal Patriots offseason going forward into free agency Monday, and then, of course, heading into a draft that lacks all the sex appeal of superstar wide receivers and quarterbacks of last year, but seems to be rife with a lot of those guys that'll plug the holes and really do the football things this Pats team desperately needs?
Yeah, I'm going to work backwards a little bit because I do think, and as we're having this conversation on March 7th, 8th, what is it? March 7th right now, there's a real chance that the Patriots land one of Travis Hunter or Abdul Carter at pick number 4. Leaving Indianapolis, I felt that way. And stuff could change with some quarterback movement this upcoming week. If you're rooting for the Patriots to land either Abdul Carter or Travis Hunter, then you should be rooting for things like Geno Smith getting traded to the Raiders. Sorry, Doug. And the Seahawks quickly pivoting and signing Sam Darnold, which sounds like there's at least a real chance that happens Monday technically, but for all we know, that deal could basically be done. You want things like that. You want teams that are picking well behind the Patriots to fill their quarterback void, because you want the Browns or the Giants to be devoid of options that would not satisfy or that would satisfy their quarterback quandaries that they currently have. I think the Titans are either taking Cam Ward or trading down to a team that will take Cam Ward at number 1 overall. My colleague, Adam Schefter, who knows more than really anybody, has been quite confident, and to the point that it's eye-opening how confident he was in declaring he believes the Browns are taking a quarterback number 2 overall. This was before the combine, and Schefter obviously knows a lot of things, but he is as buttoned up as it gets in terms of waiting until something is done before he reports it. So he wasn't flat out reporting the Browns are guaranteed to take a quarterback. But he basically said, if I were to predict one thing that will happen in the draft, it's the Browns taking a quarterback number 2 overall. So I know this is a long-winded way of getting to Travis Hunter, but I really believe he's the best player in the draft. And if the Patriots get him at number 4, well, we can go back and forth on whether he's better as a cornerback or a wide receiver. I think the idea when you draft a player is probably to explore a little bit of both. But I believe, and this is not to say he isn't a fantastic cornerback prospect, I believe he's got even more upside as a wide receiver. I think we're talking about legitimate all-pro ability. He's got this sort of Gumby nature to him, kind of like Jaden Daniels last year. If you see him, he's a wiry built player, but he withstands contact very, very well. He has got tremendous body armor for a guy who checked in, I think, 187 at the combine, which is lighter relative to some of these top tier wide receivers. But the instincts, the ball skills, the speed, obviously, all those things to me give me a lot of confidence that this guy could end up being an all-pro wide receiver at some point. So I don't think there is a clear-cut, obvious, short and long-term answer for the Patriots in free agency at wide receiver. There are a couple names, obviously Chris Godwin, who I think is an amazing player, but he's coming off of a major ankle injury, right? And the reality is he's 27. So Travis Hunter just represents kind of this very unique opportunity for the Patriots if he falls to number 4. I think next week, though, for all I know, they could go, they could sign 20 free agents, but they obviously lead the NFL in cap space. This is not this incredibly rich free agency class, and that was only shortened by moves like the Bengals franchise tagging T. Higgins, and there's only 2 tags, but Trey Smith and T. Higgins were about as good as it gets as far as potential free agents. That this might be the year that if you're the Patriots, you just say, even if we have to overspend on players, I'm okay with 3 or 4 massive spends on guys who are true blue chip talents. I think all the names that have been discussed plenty regarding the Patriots, Godwin is one, and Milton Williams on the defensive side of the ball. Maybe if they feel like Josh Sweat's, a scheme fit, that would be one as well. I mean, there are a lot of guys that could help specifically along the offensive and defensive line. Aaron Banks from San Francisco, big physical guard, got a lot of experience. Like, there are a lot of guys that I think if you throw 8-figure per year contracts at them, can at least help get this roster a little bit closer to representative of a team that can, I don't know about push for that Commanders turnaround, but at least be a much friskier out than they were last year when too many games were lost, felt like too early in the game.
Definitely. And Field, thank you again for joining us. It was great to see you at the Combine as well. Always good to see Field Yates. I saw that you, obviously you've been diving into the draft. First of all, you laid out an ideal situation. I think Patriots fans watching this right now would be ecstatic about the idea of Travis Hunter or Abdul Carter being there.
I feel pretty good about that.
Overall.
Yeah.
And that's, obviously that's fantastic news for
either
the Patriots, or it would be fantastic news. Is there one other guy, maybe like, let's say top of the second round, that you look at in this draft as just being like, you know what? This looks like a Patriots fit. This looks like a Mike Vrabel type of guy. This looks like a type of guy that the front office would fall in love with.
What I'm going to do right now is I've been working on my top 100. I happen to have it available right here. So I'm going to look at players I have ranked somewhere in that range. All right, so a couple names to give you here. Josh Connerly, offensive tackle from Oregon, really good player, had a great season this past year. So if the Patriots didn't go offensive tackle at 4 or don't land one in free agency, and again, the options are pretty thin there, then Connerly, who it's not the sexiest tape. It's just really solid and dependable. Had a great game. Penn State, Oregon in the Big Ten championship game. Oregon just basically said, we're going to throw every resource we have at Abdul Carter and kind of attack him from all angles, reminding me of some of the stuff the Patriots used to do against guys like Aaron Donald, just basically make him work for 60 minutes. Even if you lose some of those battles, you at least make him fight those battles. So it wasn't solely Josh Connerly who was responsible for Abdul Carter having no pressures, no sacks in that game, but it was a really good game for him in general. Something Nick Scorton from Texas A&M, a pass rusher who 2 seasons ago, so not last year, but the year prior, was at Purdue and led the Big Ten in sacks. And like Big Ten, I mean, that's Ohio State, Michigan. I mean, it was not what it is now when there's Oregon and UCLA and USC, et cetera. But the old Big Ten still has plenty of legit rushers that the fact that he led the conference in sacks as a true sophomore was telling. He's kind of got this shorter arm build. I know people, this is the time of year where everybody freaks out over small measurables one way or the other. Doug, Andrew, and I were sort of laughing and joking as we were sort of finishing off a beer in Indianapolis about Will Campbell and whether the measurements could get him the extra 1/8 of an inch because he had been reportedly checking in around 32 and
unbelievable.
7/8 of an inch.
It's
now
how
he's
you use
32
it,
and
Will.
5/8.
It's not how big it is. It's how you use that.
But his measurables feel though like I looked at everything that he did at the combine and everything that he did in college and what the size and everything. He's Zach Martin. Like he's almost
Yeah,
Zach Martin to a T.
Which, by the way, if you get Zach Martin with the 4th pick,
Yeah.
I feel like that's a pretty damn good way to go.
That's a great success, right?
I'd be pumped.
Exactly.
But I also say this about Will Campbell. It's so funny how it's like the only world in which a guy who's 6'6" and 319 pounds is considered tiny is left tackle world, right? Will's a big dude though, and like that guy. I mean, the tape is pretty damn good. Actually, incidentally enough, I thought the rusher that gave him the most fits this year was Nick Scorton, who is a short-armed pass rusher. So maybe the lengthy guys aren't as much of a concern as these guys that can kind of get underneath you. Kenneth Grant from Michigan, I sort of see him all over the board. I think he's more late 1, early 2 for me than he is mid-round 1. 3.5 sacks last season. Not like significant pass rushing upside, but a guy who can really clog a lot of space in the middle. He's 330 pounds every day of the week. He's an Indianapolis kid who ended up at Michigan, had a really good career for them. Him and Mason Graham against Ohio State. Like I was surprised the city of Columbus, let those guys out of the stadium. It was like just what they were doing to that offensive line for Ohio State, which was very, very good, was just simply unfair. Look at some other names here. Jonas Avainea from Arizona is a guard who played right tackle, left tackle, everywhere. Anything along the offensive line intrigues me for the Patriots. I'm a huge Jack Besh fan. He's a wide receiver from TCU, a kid who a lot of people know, unfortunately, because he lost his brother during the terror attack in New Orleans on New Year's Eve.
Love him.
He started his career at LSU during a time in which there was Malik Neighbors and Brian Thomas Jr. at the program. Jack Besh, as a true freshman tight end, led the team in receiving yards. Like, kind of a crazy thing to consider given all the talent that was also there in Baton Rouge. He ends up at TCU. He is a wide receiver every day of the week. 214 pounds, 6'1" at the combine. Had a good short shuttle, had a good 3-cone as well. Didn't run the 40. I think he's probably like 4.48 to 4.52 type guy, which might be a little bit scary to the Patriots right now. I was a huge Jalen Polk fan coming out of the draft, but obviously last year was a forgettable one for him. Still some confidence they can get that thing turned around, but obviously when you draft a receiver who's a bit speed deficient a year ago, you might not necessarily be as inclined to go down that path this year. If somehow, some way, Donovan Jackson from Ohio State sneaks into the top of round 2, and I'm completely convinced he won't, then I would sprint that card in. One of my favorite players in the entire class. He's, we talk about these guards, these offensive linemen. You want them to be like big, fast, physical, athletic guys, with athletic being a trait we talk about a lot. That being said, guys, these quarterbacks in today's NFL, it's so inconsistent. Like, they're not dropping to the same depth. It's not like when the Patriots had Tom Brady, and it was like you knew exactly where Tom's back foot was going to hit on every single play. So you kind of knew, like, here's what we're going to be doing, right? It's like, here's how we're going to have to set on this play. Now, it's a different world, man. These quarterbacks, it's one play, they're 15 yards behind the line of scrimmage, dashing to the right, dashing to their left, right? With Drake being a big mobile quarterback, sometimes what you're looking for is less about the athletes. It's more about just the guys that can set a big, firm, flat pocket. Donovan Jackson, this guy's a brick wall. I call him the brick wall. I mean, the Great Wall of Columbus with how he played last year. He's a left guard who moved out to left tackle when they lost Josh Simmons. So I actually like that pick 38 for the Patriots.
Yeah.
I think there's some good talent there for sure.
Yeah, it's too bad it's going to Seattle for DK Metcalf, but we appreciate all the thoroughness that you had there. Feel for.
Oh, shoot, sorry. Wait,
no.
Has DK just been traded?
First of all, anytime we get together and drink beers, Field, it's an apology-free zone. Number one, and number two, this is all this is the knowledge we all want, because as we were saying to Mike Reiss a little while ago, like, it's so fun to talk Patriots again, finally, for the first time in a while. That anything we can learn about what this team needs, who's available, and what they can do is fun, because there was so much negativity first following the release of Brady, then with the animosity with Mac versus Belichick, and then Kraft and Mayo, that now things have sorted themselves out again. Like, the field is level, and it's time for the Patriots to go back in a very aggressive, forceful direction with Mike Vrabel. And I think, like I mentioned before, they're going to build a team that's representative of like that strong blue collar, sausages and Aussie on the boom box at the tailgate. Like, that's where we're going back to again, which is great. And so when I hear about good linebackers, possession receiver, I think Jack Besh has Patriot written all over him. So does Luther Burden, and so does Xavier Restrepo. If I get one more tweet, and I have 1/19 of your followers, if I get one more tweet that says like, Xavier Restrepo is a Miami tatted up version of Edelman. I'm going to quit all social media. It's unbelievable. But that's what we want. That's where we need to go again, Callahan.
Yeah, I'm with you. But before, because Paul has been waiting forever, and we have finally had the person to ask.
I'm so sorry.
So fantasy, no, he asked us at 8. This was Paul's mistake, not yours, Fields. We've been waiting to ask you this question, though. He says he stinks at fantasy. Go generic with this.
You can fix that.
Or specific sleeper, year 2 leap guys, someone that you could just give Paul, who needs all the help, apparently. And thank you very much, Paul, in all seriousness, for donating. Just a little boost for him looking ahead to next August, maybe early September when he's drafting.
So what I'm trying to do is I'm trying to thread some needles, right? Because we have the next 7 days, which is basically the first wave or wave and a half of free agency that's going to dictate so much, right? So there's a part of me that's like, if the Bills don't get a deal done with James Cook, what happens there, right? Or, and does that mean that Ray Davis all of a sudden becomes a starter because James Cook either holds out or is traded or something? And then I'm realizing to myself, like, we're so far away from that stuff actually happening. All right, a couple of things here. So Andre Yosivas, that would be, he's a name that we learned a little bit about last year. He played a decent amount for Cincinnati. But I do think if they can't get a long-term deal done with T. Higgins, then we're going to be staring at the same situation as we did last year, which is every tight hamstring for T. Higgins might be a couple weeks, right, as opposed to a couple days. You have to protect yourself. That would be a name that comes to mind for me. Josh Downs is a good player actually both receivers in Indianapolis that I like the most, Michael Pittman Jr. and Josh Downs, are both good names because if they go out and they sign a quarterback that is just a more natural pocket passer than Anthony Richardson, looks a whole lot better. And Downs actually was fine last year with Richardson, but he was much better with Joe Flacco. I think probably the best answer, though, on some of these breakouts is which of the first round receivers from last year, high pedigree receiver / running backs, and obviously wasn't a great running back class last year, are going to end up sort of making that year 2 leap. Belichick used to just famously hammer that, right? Like these guys who make the big year 1 to year 2 leap, and the Patriots seem to always get that with running backs, right? Shane Vereen, Stephen Ridley. I'm sure there are others that I've forgotten along the way, but
Danny Woodhead, Kevin Falk, all those guys.
Yeah,
James White for sure.
It all seemed to happen. And then probably like places where there is a quarterback that we know is already in place, like Atlanta. I guess Drake London and Darnell Mooney were both fine this past season. But so I feel like I almost owe Paul more come like July.
There we go.
But that's a start.
We'll do this again in July. Yeah.
Hey, Paul, is there a way to keep Paul on speed dial in some way that I can revisit him? Because I'll have a much better answer.
I do want to let everybody know. We did one of these last spring. Field was kind enough to donate a prize at our live auction at Vitamin C Brewing that we actually never gave away because we ran short on time. He was willing to donate for a certain amount of money if someone were to donate, 4 figures, that he was going to do a 30-minute quick chat with people's fantasy teams. I'm not promising that now by any stretch, Field. That never happened, but perhaps maybe we can do that sometime again soon, meet up, talk online, and feel we can auction off something great because there's a lot of fantasy to talk, but that's after the draft. That's after the draft happens.
Sure.
Let's see. I know what I wanted to ask you, and I need to bring in before we let you go, Field, and we keep things moving here. I got to bring in our guy.
Is there somebody coming behind me or no?
Well, there is.
Go.
Actually, live from the set of season 3 of Severance.
Yeah.
That's right.
I feel underdressed. Hurley, looking sharp.
I dress like this every Friday night. You guys don't?
Oh, guilty on that one.
So Field is at the Pro Football Hall of Fame. Michael's on the set of Severance. I'm in my dad's basement right now. Michael, I wanted to welcome you in here while we have Field as well, because I've been dying to ask Field this question. This is one of my favorite things to swap texts with amongst friends about fantasy football. What has been your favorite fantasy football punishment that you have ever seen somebody have to serve? Because if I may, this week I was sent one. This guy had to dress up like Hurley. He had to put on a suit. He had to go to a Chili's. And he had to have dinner with a blow-up doll.
Oh, man. Oh, God.
And whatever Field says
here. On my Instagram, I swear to God, I can't watch it all the way through because he has to go through the whole dinner. And he has to walk it out arm in arm. And people are just staring the whole time like, you got to be shitting me, guy.
That is good. That is good.
It's an excellent one. So
And whatever Field says here, Michael has already agreed to do. So he's gonna do it within the next week. So
Well,
Good.
I want to get back into fantasy just to lose. When I see the guys at like Waffle House for 24 hours or like the McDonald's eat everything on the menu challenge, I'm kind of like, I could get into this. I think this is my calling.
Can we also acknowledge that Fitzy's worst punishment he's ever seen is not like, oh, my friend did this or heard this. My man took a blow-up sex doll to a Chili's and was just testing it out on festivals.
Callahan,
It's like
it's gastrically difficult to try to eat your way out of a Waffle House or take 7 cross-country flights.
Yeah.
But just the 30 minutes of everyone looking at you going like, what is that guy doing? Like, that's cringe. It is pretty cringe.
You survived, man. I don't think your wife's in the 8,500, 8,600 people we have here. Props to you. It's okay.
All right, so Field, what's the best? I know you're good point, Callan. All right,
yeah,
so what's your favorite
I'll give
Field?
you guys 2, and it's the same league, and it was 1 year to the next. So I play in a league, and I'm actually glad to tell this forum because I'd imagine a lot of New Englanders here that are amongst those 8,600 people. So I play in a league. There's 12 of us, and I think 9 of them are currently working at Cisco Brewery on Nantucket. I'm the only guy who's not a year-rounder on Nantucket right now. But, go there during the summer, and some of my best friends in the world are all there. So they allowed me an exemption a few years back into this league. And the last place finisher a couple of years ago, the punishment was, if you finished in last place, you had to start at Sankaty Lighthouse. For those familiar with the geography of Nantucket, that's like the southeast corner of the island. And you had to run 8.4 miles to a bar, Chicken Box. And the rest of us were at the bar with that person's credit card, and the tab ran from the minute he left until the minute he arrived. So we're playing in this league. These guys have done pretty well for themselves, but of course the youngest guy in the league, who had a monster season this year, like he made up for it and then some. He had he finished 2nd or 3rd this year. So it's not like he's a bad fantasy player. He's got unlucky. But like this young kid who's like fresh out of college loses in his first year in the league, and it's like, God damn it! Like this poor kid who's probably making the least amount of money at everybody loses. So we ended up cutting the number off a little early. But the only silver lining of losing, and by the way, he ran it in like an hour 25. Like he went basically like 10-minute miles flat. And we had an air tag on him to make sure that he wasn't like all of a sudden like no one had like left a bike for him somewhere. Next thing you know, he went 4 miles in 15 minutes or something. So we were tracking him hard. But he got to choose the punishment for the upcoming year. And the upcoming year, so this year's punishment was you had to stop and drink a beer at every Cisco location and make it back to Nantucket in the same day. Like the day after the season was over, they announced they're shutting down the Portsmouth, New Hampshire location. So I think the guy who lost is going to have to go from like Seaport to New London to the Cape to Nantucket, which honestly, I don't know. Like,
not easy.
Yeah.
But I'm sort of saying, like, as a dad, I kind of wouldn't mind a day where I get to just go 4 different bars and drink a beer.
Oh, are you kidding me, Field? Is it father of 2 like you are as well? Like I would give my left leg to be able to just spend a day on a boat and a ferry and whatever else and like bury Cisco's. By the way, side note, I feel like you and Randy Scott, who's just a tremendous human being, need to start a side pod because I know you need another podcast, Field.
Yeah.
And it's just called Fantasy Punishments. And every week you just discuss these.
Can I tell you guys one thing? I know I'll make it quick because I'm sure this isn't the spirit of this great event. I'm so happy that Randy Scott is getting the recognition for how talented he is and how incredible of a human he is. I thought forever, I used to say this all the time, he's the most underrated person at ESPN. Underrated no longer. The man is the face of not just ESPN, but Disney Plus now. Are you kidding me? How cool is that? And of course, a great Nesson alum, as we all know.
I got to step in. This
Another
is too,
good one
this
in
is
Gary
too,
Streisand, too.
It's already too pro Randy for me. I might have to bail. This is disgusting. I can't stand for this. Just too much Randy.
As somebody who was eliminated halfway through the first season of Dream Job, I'm glad that is the handsome face of ESPN and not this broken down guy Smiley right here. Okay.
And Field, before you go, suggestion for that league for next year's punishment, maybe change your Instagram location to Martha's Vineyard for a year. That would be a decent enough punishment for.
Oh man, those guys. Right? Those guys would not stand for it. It is funny how it is. I mean, it's like that's like turf wars right there, right? Like when I have people ask me who have never been to the New England area, like I'm thinking about visiting one of the islands. Which one should I go to? They're like, I know you go to Nantucket. Does that mean you hate the Vineyard? And I'm like, here's the deal. Like the Vineyard's one of the most incredible places you could ever visit in your entire life. My mom lives there. I happen to have a place to stay. I'm here to tell you, hotels and rentals ain't cheap on either island. So I prefer the place where I can go and not spend my life savings for 4 nights. But Vineyard is a lovely place as well. It just doesn't, it's a little bit different for me, but who am I to judge?
And here I am, just with my little 2-bedroom sea shanty in Dennisport, just like one day.
Hey, for the next 48 days, I think there's one thing that every Patriots fan needs to do. And I said this last year prior to the draft. And I think it was always going to land here, but there were some murmurs right where they go a different direction. It was take Drake May 3. This year, you got it before you go to bed every night. Just whisper it into the air. Travis Hunter at 4. Travis Hunter at 4. Travis Hunter at 4. Just will it into existence.
Love it.
Yep.
You guys already follow him at Field Yates, obviously for his Patriots intel, the draft coverage, and the fantasy stuff. He does everything and then some. Maybe you'll run into him in Nantucket, or maybe on a ferry between Nantucket and Martha's Vineyard if he's serving a fantasy punishment or more. Maybe one day, if we're lucky enough, we'll get him to join us at the Plymouth or Weymouth location of Vitamin C for a pod, a hang, and a fundraiser. But Field, we can't thank you enough for over half hour of your time on a Friday night. You got 2 kids, some chillaxation time you're entitled to. So from the bottom of Doug's, Andrew's, Mike, whatever resembles Michael's and mine, beating hearts, thank you so much for your time, buddy.
Yeah, my robust social life on a Friday night. You guys ask, am I free? I mean, come on. Is that a rhetorical question? Of course I'm free.
Hey, man, it was great. It was great chatting with you. Thanks so much. We'll do it again soon. You be well, okay?
Thanks, Field.
Thanks, guys. Take care. Good to see you all.
You too, Field. Thanks so much. Field Yates, everybody.
So, Michael,
And,
Field gave us, I think, like 10 different guys the Patriots could draft at the end of the first round. I want you to give us like 25 of them, if that's possible.
I know way
your
more
time
guys.
starts now.
Yeah, I know way more guys than Field. I've been studying this draft. It would be. I don't want to embarrass your guests.
Right.
In this case, it would be ESPN's Field Yates. So I will keep that private for now. But we all know that I have 10 to 20 more guys to add.
Saving it for BST.
Actually, did you watch the Underwear Olympics last weekend? And were you dumb enough, like me, even though you swore yourself off from developing draft crushes, did you fall in love with any players? Because after the Patriots traded out and didn't take Ladd McConkey, I almost divorced myself from being a fan.
That's fair.
Because they screwed that. I was rooting for him to score touchdowns, Michael, against the Patriots. I was so mad.
Well, he did. So luckily for you, it panned out for you. But no, I have been
scored 2. He should have scored 3. But anyway,
I have been. That was
That
was one of the lowest points in Patriots franchise history, with the NFL Network broadcast continually being like, Ladd McConkey, Jalen Polk, stats. And here's what the Patriots got in that deal. And it was like, oh, they just kept hammering it. So that was a bad day in New England football history. But no, I have been sort of turned off from the whole process of the combine, just because it's not a made-for-TV event. It's not a primetime event. Don't lie to me and tell me it's a primetime, nighttime TV show. It's a Saturday morning, pancakes and coffee, look at those huge men in underwear running around thing. So I'm a little turned off by that.
And Michael, you did get really into arm lengths this year, though, I believe.
I did, and I missed it. Like, did they televise that? Because I want to see the footage of Will Campbell's arms being measured. That was like Holyfield Tyson 4 right there.
That was actually on onlydraftfans.com.
Yeah, well, I missed it.
That was a different measurement.
The shrine in the Senior Bowl. And yeah, a little bit more shriveled up. Yeah. The combine was like they had been in the pool, so to speak, those arms.
I know. Yeah, they weren't as long. They weren't as long as we thought, but let's see if we can get some more measurements in the coming weeks and months, because I'm all into arm measurements this year.
Yeah. All right. I just want to jump in here. We're a little behind in the super chats. We want to give time to the people who spent their good money here. And Hurley, you lead off with this one, because it strikes a balance between free agency and the draft. Kyle Marston asking, he gives us a shout out, but how many signings would need to happen for the Patriots just to be able to go, like we can We could take whoever we want it for, just best player available. How many players or what positions or what players would you sign in free agency just to say, it doesn't matter, we're just taking the top guy at number 4?
I mean, for them to take a tight end at 4, I think they'd have to make about 30 signings before we get to that point. That's how desperate they are. But I think they have to do something this weekend. They have to get something in the trade market before free agency so they can kind of prioritize come Monday. If you're shooting off in 3 different directions, you're kind of hurting yourself. So I think they would want to get somebody this weekend that can fill one of their problems, plug one of their holes, and then come Monday, they get their top guy at whether it's Ronnie Stanley or whoever it may be, and then go from there. I don't know that there's an answer to that with the number, but I still think they should be in best player mode, generally speaking. Like, I don't think they're able to pass up on anyone because of roster fit at 4. I mean, they just have too many holes.
I think it really starts with like they need a left tackle. If they don't sign a left tackle, then you almost kind of lock yourself into one at 4, which you definitely don't want to do. But yeah, I think it starts with the tackle there.
I agree.
Yeah, it definitely does. And like, so Michael, we over at the Six Rings podcast and at WEI, Andy Hart and I referred to these quote unquote battles for left tackle and right tackle as the hobo rumble and the bum fight the last couple of years, because all the Patriots kept doing was just sending people in with trash cans and garbage to fight for these spots. They never took any sort of like post Trent Brown, Isaiah Wynn, etc. They never put any proper equity into it. They just kept doing a volume fight. It was the quantity versus quality battle. And I just hope that now with Wolf and Cowden and Mike Vrabel, who obviously understands this. I mean, I wish I could get Taylor Lewan from a couple of years ago to jump back in and do as much. Like, you got to get somebody in there that your quarterback trusts, because damn the torpedoes of worrying about how fast your wide receivers are and who your running back is. If you can't block for your quarterback, then it doesn't matter, because when you were 32nd in pass blocking and 32nd in run blocking, the need is very obvious. Get big guys and then develop the team from there.
Yeah, and that was sort of, I mean, everyone had takeaways coming out of the Super Bowl. One being that if you have the best offensive line, best defensive line, best running back, 2 best receivers, and a really good quarterback, you can win the Super Bowl. But the other thing was, Pat Mahomes, we would agree, all of us, pretty good at playing quarterback, pretty good at the position, not bad, pretty well accomplished. Behind a terrible offensive line, he couldn't do anything. So what chance does Drake? What chance does Drake may have to survive? So I think that is step one. And I know, like, the other big picture, I think I've been watching and listening all night tonight, so there's no one I can name that hasn't been named. My Patriots offseason picture, it's big picture. It's just removing the stigma, like Mike Reiss talking about the suck tax. Like, we got to stop talking about the suck tax. You got to stop being a team that, well, he would never want to go there. DK Metcalf would never want to go there. You got to, and it started with Mike Vrabel. I think he had some stability, but you got to keep building, the weight room, the NFLPA survey, all that stuff you have to build. Maybe get rid of the airplane with the ashtrays or give away free cigarettes, one or the other. You can't have neither. And just sort of build back to respectability, because that's the biggest thing, where you're going to have to, I know you're going to have to overpay now for these guys that aren't going to want to be here necessarily. And everyone points to like Aguilar or Jonnu Smith. But there are hits. Matthew Judon was a star here. He connected with the fans immediately and was a Pro Bowl player. Hunter Henry has been the go-to guy for every offensive coordinator that's run the team since he's gotten here 4 years ago. So you've got to overpay this year. It's not a long-term fix, but you have to start rolling the ball downhill to the point where the Patriots can be a legitimized, good NFL team, and then you can go from there.
Hunter Henry is now being lapped by offensive coordinators. They're back to Josh McDaniels. It's crazy.
And that means Patricia's coming soon. So
God.
We're going to reverse engineer the offense again. Damn it. So have you like developed a crush on any guys in the draft, Michael? Is there anyone that you like? Is there any one guy that you would love to see the Patriots take? Like, I love Jihad Campbell, the linebacker outside edge guy from Alabama, just because he kind of does everything. And I think there's a chance he may fall later. There are some receivers later on, first round, second round, that could make a difference in Foxborough. Just any sort of quick draft thoughts?
I can't tell if it's pie in the sky. I've been big on Abdul Carter since I first saw him play, and just looking like Michael Parsons out there. I just feel like as good as Judon was, that like the Patriots haven't had a guy that, Chris Collinsworth gets on. It's like, let me tell you about this guy. Once his arms and legs get going, there's no stopping him. They just haven't had a player. And I know that there's no one guy that's going to lift them where they need to be. And there was an era where we all come from where maybe an elite pass rusher was a luxury. I think we're well beyond that era where you need it because it's such a passing league and they need it. And so, yeah, you do need an offensive. You need a lot of things. But that one to me would be the most exciting, especially if you're going to go, heavy on big defensive linemen in free agency. You're going to need something a little bit more lively than that in the draft.
So someone just donated $25, Michael, because you're in a suit and not in a hoodie, as I guess is more commonplace when you're on Pat's Chat. Everyone listen, subscribe, rate, and review.
Better lit right now too.
If you want any question answered, and I don't know how much longer we're going to go, we're still waiting on Tom Curran, but like Fitzy and I are at least too deep. And Doug might get punch drunk. I don't know. Like, we'll just hang out. Anything you want answered, you donate $25 with the dollar sign on YouTube, the Super Chats, Venmo. Ask away.
Mm-hmm.
We have nothing to lose. Hurley, though, has to do TV in about 20 minutes.
Yeah.
I got to say, Mike, I'm surprised you answered the question because rumor has it you hate the draft. Care to expound? Which I
draft hater.
No. I mean, I hate parts of the draft. I think the fact that the Thursday night thing in 10 minutes between picks, it's excruciating. Everyone knows. Sometimes you'll see tweets from 3 picks ahead, and you're still, and that's a half hour, and you're like, I can't do this. That's 30 minutes of my life that I'll never get back. So I hate the Thursday primetime thing, and I hate truly that there's 2 months here. Like, this is a long ass time.
Thank you. Thank you, Michael. You shouldn't have to wait 6 effing weeks.
It's so
between
long.
the end of free agency. Like, you're going to give me the best appetizer ever, and then you're going to do 47 minutes between appetizer and entree? Screw this restaurant.
Like, it could be the first weekend in April. It doesn't have to be the last weekend in April. It's just obviously they pick it on the calendar. So that part, the draft is an important thing. I do miss, and this is maybe an old thing, I miss the Saturday draft.
Tom Brady.
We're going to have to do maybe next Friday night. We could do like a whole half hour on Tom Brady. Weren't those the great days, fellas?
Yeah.
The good days.
How come we can't get guys like that? Oh, Bob Lavelle. Thank you very much.
But I miss the Saturday thing. If I could tweak it, all right, get rid of if you want the prime time, round 1 on Thursday, whatever, skip Friday and give me 2 through 7 on Saturday at least, because I hate the disjointed Thursday, Friday, Saturday thing. Saturday is brutal now. It's just they killed it, and I don't like it.
We got 100 pounds from someone who wants Green Day album rankings on the next Pat's Chat.
No, that's Pat's Chat Central right there. I was like, I don't know that I want to do this on your.
Actually, you know what? Because Tom Curran's late and I need to grab a beer, and Michael has 5 minutes until he has to go do television because he's fancy and wearing a shirt from Bonobos. Let's do it.
You mispronounced Marshalls, but yes, same thing. The Green Day thing will be interesting. I'm gonna need to think about it.
I think we're gonna need to wait until a Pat's Chat to do that, because Dookie would be number 1, but I might even go Nimrod number 2.
Really?
That might be
where's American Idiot?
American Idiot's gonna get hate for getting overplayed, but it's not Green Day's fault that Boulevard of Broken Dreams was on 7 different radio stations at the exact same time every 5 minutes of every day. That's not their fault.
I gotta
say, Doug, Michael, I used to work before I did any sports radio. I worked at a rock station. I used to work at K-Rock 20 years ago.
Me too.
The Howard Stern's old station in New York, humble brag. And my first job there was just being like a sports guy on an afternoon rock show. And they didn't pay me for the first 6 months. I got paid in tickets. So I just got to go to all these shows in town. So everyone, Kaiser Chiefs, Coldplay, Pearl Jam. But the best show was I got to go see Green Day at whatever the Tropicana in Atlantic City's performance venue is. And that show was effing believable.
Oh, yeah.
Wow. Right off American Idiot. They, like Billy Joel and the gang, they brought it.
They touched the sun.
Also, I was 20 years younger.
Yeah.
I'm dead inside.
And that's the other thing I wanted to say. I am drinking water because just like Mego, I am a professional, and it would be uncouth to drink before going on the TV. But also, I know you're giving away Bruins tickets tonight. The Bruins obviously dismantled the whole franchise. But I'm here to say to whoever wins those tickets, I went a couple weeks ago, still had a wonderful time, even though it was probably the worst hockey game I've ever actually witnessed. I may have overindulged that night and haven't had any alcohol since then because of how bad the hockey was. But it was a good night, and whoever wins those tickets, have a good time, because I'm jealous of you, but also I need a break.
Michael, tonight on TV, can we get you to say a certain word for the 9,000 plus people watching? Like, can we sneak something in on our behalf?
I mean, that's your game. I don't want to steal it, but give me a shot because I do have to go run out there before the show starts.
Is it? It's got to be a Green Day album, Nimrod or Insomniac.
Insomniac. Maybe Warning. Warning's easy. Warning. That's kind of cheating.
Fitzy. I mean, he's got a whole hour. Like, I'm thinking like Snuffleupagus. Like, we got to up this to like a certain level. That's just.
Ooh.
I just gonna say we got a packed show. There's 2 guests. There's a lot to talk about. So
Michael,
I'm not sure.
On BST Friday.
Michael, make it easy. Fandango.
All right, I'm going to be honest with you. I will not be able to pull this off. I'm no Andrew Callahan, but I'll try.
Fandango. You got that.
I know.
Buddy, there are no bigger fans than these 3 guys right here, and everyone in the chat. Thank you, buddy.
I appreciate it. All right,
thank you, Michael.
I'd stay, but responsibility.
TV calls.
Yeah,
it sucks. What are you going to do? Growing up, don't get old.
See you, buddy. Congratulations. Thanks so much. All right. So we only have 1 guest left, you guys. An incredible show. 9,500 people watching live right now. Thank you guys on YouTube, on Twitter, on Facebook, and beyond. The generosity is just insane. This is a perfect time to wonder if my wife got the text I sent her asking for a beer. But also, more importantly, well, I'm landlocked over here, guys.
You've got enough place. Some of us
wouldn't you think? So Callahan, I'm at a certain age, obviously, I'm in my 50s. Thanks, Doug. I appreciate it. I don't look it. I know. Thank you. I have a small fridge out in the garage, or the barrage, as we like to call it here at the Fitzatorium, where I do like a lot of my youth coaching and whatever else. And there's a small beer fridge out there. I should have one in the office for occasions like this, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's true.
Guys, also, if you donate enough money, Doug will send you Steve Largent's first helmet, which is behind his right shoulder.
This is one of those.
Or is that Dave Craig's?
This is one of those children's helmets. I think it was a Kurt Warner uniform actually that it came with. So it's a Kurt Warner, not the quarterback, the Seahawks running back from Penn State. Since we last shouted out everybody on Venmo who donated using the QR code live or at Faxon Productions, Ryan McMahon, $20. The pre-agency donation. Thank you guys putting on the show. It's awesome. Joshua Guimond, $51. Cancer Research, LFG, you guys, and GFY Cancer. Christopher McCabe, $25 for the show tonight. John Lydyard, Pat's Press Pass fundraiser for Cancer Research. Great job, guys. Luke Best, $50 for Cancer Research. Michael Durgan, $5 for Cancer Research. Thank you so much, Michael. Craig Sylvester, thank you so much. $25. Chris Hamilton, a distant relative of Alexander. Pat's Cancer Research, $25. Craig Sylvester, $25 for Cancer Research. Thank you guys so much. $50 from Alex Barth. Pat's pod donation. Bath Veda. Thank you very much, Barth. You do incredible work, buddy. Alexander Schulman, $25. John Cooney, $25 to the Venmo. Mark Daniels, $50. Oh, at by Mark Daniels. You're the freaking best guy. Man. Vincent Tobito, great job, everyone, tonight. What a great cause. What a great watch. Always listening and watching. You guys are awesome. $25 as well. Brian Heffron. Look at all these. God bless you guys. Thank you.
I hope it sounded like if Santa was a Pats fan. Just I'm always watching. I'm always
Hey guys, I'm always watching. Just want you to know.
Yeah.
Hey, I got my Ring camera. I got a camera in everyone's house.
Brian Heffron, $25.
Him and the guy who identified as Hitman, who we waited 20 minutes too long to get to his question the first hour of the show.
By the way, Tom Curran either better be trapped in a closet with Gene Hackman's effing dog or doing push-ups, because I have no idea why is he 15 minutes late.
I don't know what's going on.
I think we get a couple of super chats that we could answer in the meantime.
Yeah, we have a lot.
Yep, Brian Heffron, $25. Hold, we're still going, guys. People are so generous. And Will DeTulo, good luck tonight, guys. The show has been awesome. In honor of Doug and the Kyed family, we love you. $25. God,
Thank you, everyone. Yeah.
Again,
special shout out. I saw Dan Goldberg. I went to high school with him. He donated money. My mother-in-law, Jean Crosby, she donated. So shout out to her as well. Those are 2 that I saw come in. But yeah, here's a question. Who would you rather have rebuild this Patriots team, Don Sweeney or Elliott Wolf? Neither can't be the answer. I will go with Elliott Wolf on this one. Listen, let's see what a second off season looks like for Elliott Wolf. I've always said that it's tough to judge a GM based on one off season. Obviously, last year did not go well outside of Drake May and a handful of free agent signings. But with some more help this offseason, Mike Vrabel, Ryan Cowden, everyone that they brought in, things should be better this offseason.
I'm going to go off the board. I'm going Cam Neely because the man starred in the movie that is closest to my heart, Dumb and Dumber, which is not like some sort of lame joke. It's just something that I can recite off the top of my head, having seen it when I was 9 years old, and is just the script is at like 60% up here. So I'm going to go with the Bruins' right-hand man, though he also might be just as responsible for today's detonation of the whole entire freaking roster. Though, again, if you donate $50 or more, you can have 3 club-level tickets, which I know we've had scrolling around at the bottom. Those are better seats than I'll ever sit in as a fan. So go, if you would like to, $50 or more to the next Bruins game against Florida, by the way. I don't know if Brad Marchand will show up or just hang out in Boston. But either way, you could be there for $50 or more. Chomper, $25. Does the Patriots' new staff view Christian Barmore as someone who can one gap, as we've been talking on and on again? Mm-hmm. And how concerned should we be with him ever playing again?
I mean, that was actually a unique pick by the Patriots, and it wound up working out well that he can one gap, like he can be a fit in Mike Vrabel's system, which you certainly can't say about all defensive tackles that Bill Belichick brought in over the years, just because that was the defense that he ran. They didn't run an attacking defense, but Christian Barmore absolutely can be that guy. But it is just all about whether or not he can be on the field, because we saw him come back last year. Some people within the building thought that they rushed him back. I think it's a fair thing to wonder, because he practiced once, never practiced in pads, and then was out there on the field playing, 20, 25 snaps or whatever it was in his return. So that might have played a factor, but then he did have the recurrence of blood clots mid-season. So it's really up in the air. No one seems to know one way or the other whether or not he can or cannot play, but they're kind of trusting the medicine right now with him.
Yeah, and the check-in should be later this month, based on what Elliot Wolf and Mike Vrabel have said publicly, but even in private conversations they had with other folks in Indianapolis that Doug and I talked to, they kind of clammed up when it came to Barmore. So to me, that says they really don't know. And at this
point, don't want to go out on that limb right now because they really don't know, right?
Yeah, and sitting in uncertainty sucks. Like, I'm not here saying that you have to commit one way or another. You just have to find a way to deal with running out the clock till maybe May 28th, or maybe we closer to April 1st. Or hopefully the news does not break on April 1st, but maybe the 2nd or the 7th. And then we know for sure when they start their conditioning program, because he's working out in Tampa, but it's very different dealing with that kind of ailment to play football versus just bench, squat, power clean, etc. We had another super chat here. Marilyn wants to know if we covered the Geno Smith trade and the possible impact on our draft. Field Yates did this, a big solid to us. And then she said she popped in late. Loved all three of us, 3 of the best out there in the beat. Appreciate the support, Marilyn, on the research. What we got on Geno Smith to the Raiders, taking them pretty much out of the quarterback sweepstakes here, trading up.
I don't think it's a bad thing, especially if the Seahawks do wind up signing Sam Darnold. That still leaves a lot of quarterback needy teams above the Patriots. And even if the Giants sign Aaron Rodgers, that's still a team that could still need to draft a quarterback, even if they sign Aaron Rodgers. So I would say that the Geno Smith trade actually wound up working out pretty well for the Patriots draft-wise. And Field was certainly talking 2 quarterbacks could go in the top 3. So like I was saying before, definitely something the Patriots should be very happy about if that's the case.
Anytime any team right behind the Patriots goes and grabs a quarterback now, guys, that means that that just puts more quarterbacks up there that either A, one of those teams ahead of the Patriots is going to grab, or B, someone else might say the Raiders didn't get Cam Ward or Shedeur or Jackson Dart if they're going to choose chaos, which, I'd be fine with. And this is the question I wanted to ask. 2 questions. One, craziest potential trade draft take type of scenario. I would not hate if the Patriots go back to 7, 8, 9, find a tackle or whoever else that they like. I still think the best tackles for the Patriots are in the 2nd or 3rd round. Ozzie Trapillo, Ursary, who did a good job against Abdul Carter. You don't have to jump on it early because they just need so much. But B, is there somebody else that we're forgetting that we may hear about them jumping on or signing come Monday? Just, is there one name we didn't get to tonight? We obviously, Ronnie Stanley heard his name so many times now he's copyrighted it. It's in the public domain like Netflix and Xerox. Milton Williams, DJ Reed, Travarius Ward, Chris Godwin. Is there one name out there that I'll bring up one. I had heard Najee Harris as a possibility just because Mike Vrabel likes people that love to hammer the line so hard that maybe they would go 1-2. And that you couldn't you'd be able to just go out. You can't have Derrick Henry. Well, put Ramondre and Najee together. You might get a Derrick Henry and just be able to hit after one after another.
It's not a bad one. I look at like one guy who I thought was really good early in his Raiders career, that Josh McDaniels has worked with before, bigger slot cornerback. Like maybe they signed someone like Nate Hobbs. You know, he's had some good years with the Raiders. That's just kind of like you would think of him as being maybe a little bit of a lower tiered player, but that's one guy that I would throw out there.
What is the name of? Okay, so we got a couple in the chat right now, Doug.
Yep.
Jamien Sherwood, we mentioned him earlier, but people can't get enough of him just because he's quick, safety like in the linebacker box, violent as well. Paulson Adebo. Could Nick Chubb be available? Asks Pat Stats, watching live on YouTube. And what is the name of that pass rusher? I think Tom Curran, who again is just a whisker.
He's coming. He just called. Yeah, he's going to apologize a bunch. He used the word mortified 3 times in a.
No big deal. We hung out long enough. He gave me a reason to have a third beer.
That we just had, but he was, I don't know, he'll explain in a current way. I don't want to tease him.
Doug, maybe you know as well, Andrew. What is the name of that outside edge rusher from the Raiders who was having a good? Thank you.
Yep.
Should he be on our radar?
I think he could be. Absolutely. Yeah. Missed last season, but seemed like a guy who was trending in the right direction before that happened.
There we go.
Yeah, and look, Doug and I have talked about this before. That the top of their board consists of top of the market guys. We've all done and talked about for weeks, if not months. Then there are mid-level guys that either because they're 25 or 26 or have been injured or bounced around, had inconsistent careers, that I think could be great value. Like when we started this talking to Mego about the Commanders level, leap, it's because you hit on Frankie Louvu, obviously Bobby Wagner, all these mid-level guys, the offensive linemen. There are guys that they have targeted. We want to get this done now. And their agents have been said, like, just get ready. We're going to come heavy for you. Those will happen soon Monday. That will almost as much as Ronnie Stanley kind of make or break their hopes. And that's at positions we've already talked about. Defensive line, some in the secondary, obviously receiver. It just won't break the bank or fill in the headlines of like, oh my God, they signed Frankie Louvu. You know what I mean? But if you're a Commanders fan, you end up knowing that guy was crucial.
Well, guys, he comes in throwing the kind of reliable heat that Mariano Rivera used to throw in, and we don't have Enter Sandman to play. However, the fact that he wasn't able to come on time and we weren't sure if he was going to come in, gave us the Craig Kimbrell sweats. But then again, it's always a great time to have from the Patriots Talk podcast, be that as it may, Tommy Curran here to close out the show. Hi, buddy. Perfect.
Oh, now we got a black screen. This is YouTube. This is live stream, folks. This is not television. Here he is.
Hey, what's up, buddy?
Oh, he's slow.
Oh no, he's lagging.
He's good. Okay. No, he's muted. He thinks he's sorry now, but it's just slow, Tom. He can see us in the backstage. I don't know what we can do to help him.
And he looked like every character ever in a Ben Affleck movie too. Let's try one more time. Here we go. There he is. Tommy.
Hi. How you doing? You hear me okay?
We can hear you now.
Hey.
I'm so embarrassed. Who shows up like an idiot who has known all week to do the nice charity thing and told everybody in the family, don't forget 9:30, I have the thing. And I forgot. I got a golf simulator downstairs. Lucky me. And I was downstairs on the golf simulator with my son and a couple of his friends.
Oh, did you actually went home simulator? That's a great choice.
Well, I'm older, and that's what basically happens for you guys. Like as you get older and you don't have, like, hopefully everybody gets the kids through school, zing zang. The next thing you know, you're like, I can get a golf simulator, I think. So that's what has happened here. And I spend hours in there, and I tend to lose track of time, as in right now. When I picked up my phone, I saw, let me check my text. Oh my God. I was supposed to be there 25 minutes ago. So I am so sorry.
We kept
Hurley on your son's friends too. You're not just hanging out for the simulator. You're like down with your boys.
We were actually trying to break 50, and we were about 9 under through 8 holes.
Wow.
But I was like, I gotta go.
Sorry, we took you away from that then.
No, not at all. I'm happy to be here, Dougie. I'm happy to help, and I love this cause, and I'm very, very happy to help and support you and your family and this cause in any way at all.
Tommy, have you
so much for joining?
Would you I've wanted to go see, what do they call it? TGL, the one down in Florida, the indoor golf league. Yeah. Does that look like fun to you or not?
Oh yeah, because I mean, I honest to God, I'll play 54 holes a night in my stupid garage.
Wow.
It's addictive. You're like totally immersed. You turn on the lights, you're like, oh, it's just a big screen. You turn on the machine and you're totally immersed. I love it. It's a blast. But people want to talk football.
Yeah, they do. That was just a little grab ass. All right, so here's the first question we have right up, coming off hot out the box. Duggar and Mapu full-time in the box. That would feed families. Tommy, nobody has talked about the safeties tonight really, except for Devin McCourty a couple hours ago. Is Duggar still on this team if they decide to sign somebody like Javon Holland? And do you expect Mapu to make a jump this year?
Yes to both. I think that right now Mike Vrabel is extremely conscious of culture and what he wants this team's mindset to be and how much buy-in he's getting from people. And I think in your experience, Doug and Andrew, from being in that locker room, there's no warts on Kyle Duggar in terms of seriousness, diligence, being part of the team and wanting to do well. And he's also very handsomely paid.
Yeah.
And I think he looks at this team probably at this point, and he got a lot of criticism last year, but I don't think he took it personally the way some guys do and get very soft about, oh, you know, I'm hurt. He was very stand up about it. So I think he is here. And if Javon Holland comes here, I mean, that's a lot of money to spend. And I do know the Patriots are going to be extremely aggressive at the beginning portion of free agency, as you guys do too.
Yep.
But I think their aggression is going to circle around the positions that we keep circling, which are left tackle, wide receiver, defensive line, defensive end.
Yeah.
We've been asking everybody that, like, their ideal offseason. If you had to bet, you know, make a prediction, this is most likely to happen of those positions. What are the one or two that you think they pursue and they succeed?
I think realistically, if I were to put money somewhere, I would say Ronnie Stanley's probably going to end up going back to Baltimore. Because look at all the reality of, and that's the most important domino you have to have fall for you, because it frees you up in the draft. But Ronnie Stanley's playing for a team that he's always been with, that he is, you know, entrenched in the community. His family is there. Does he want to move here and be part of a rebuilding team getting more money, or does he want to be there with a team that competes to play in the Super Bowl with the opportunity to be an all-pro, a Pro Bowler, to get that recognition? So the Patriots are going to have to pay that suck tax that, you know, Vrabel talked about at the combine when he said if there's only one car on the lot, you have to pay extra for it. And I think that, you know, indications I'm getting is, you know, their plan B would be more to go for a Dan Moore type than to go immediately to Cam Robinson, who's second in line. But I think Ronnie Stanley with a bullet is their number one target at tackle. And if you don't do that, as you guys know, you cannot with a straight face. Why am I not centered? Here I am. You cannot with a straight face go into another season with just gauze at the left tackle position. I mean, Trent Brown was kind of trash in 22, really bad in 23, and you had nothing in 24. So you're running around for 3 years with no left tackle in the NFL. And that's just, you can't live like that. So they have to fix it. And I know there's going to be so much rock kicking and thinking about, well, Will Campbell's arms are too short. Does that mean it separates him from being an all-pro as opposed to just a very good pro who's a borderline Pro Bowler and a 10-year starter? If that's it, then I'd still take him, because you need to fix it.
Yeah, I think they know. I've mentioned this before, but I think they know one way or the other they can't go into the season with Vidarian Lowe or DeMondre Jacobs or even like Caden Wallace at left tackle. They can't take those chances. So if they don't land Stanley, based on what I was hearing at the combine, like they're still going all in at tackle. They want to come out of free agency with a tackle, whether that is Ronnie Stanley, Dan Moore, and like Cam Robinson. Those are basically like the three options that are out there. So they're probably going to have to overpay a little bit to get one of those guys just to ensure that they've got a left tackle in the building.
Yeah, and that's the hardest position to be in, I think. And that's why we spent so much time last year, and I was on an island, especially when it comes to Andrew or Phil or you, Doug, saying set the nest up first and then put the quarterback inside the nest. Make sure the nest is all prepared.
Right.
And in hindsight, because Drake May developed so brilliantly, they're in a great spot. Because they have that. But now they have, you know, there's two ways of doing it. They went, instead of taking Joe Walt, for instance, or trading down and trying to get whichever tackle you would want to, and Michael Penix or JJ McCarthy. They have Drake May, and they're still saying, well, now it's contingent upon convincing somebody on Monday and Tuesday to come here.
So, Tom, I don't know how much of the draft you've looked at, but jumping into some super chats where people, if you donate $25 or more, we will answer whatever you want. Ultimate Patriots, we will go anywhere, though.
And $50 gets you an entry into 3 club tickets, Tommy. 3 to Tuesday night's game against the Florida Panthers at the Boston Garden, between the Bruins and the Panthers, even though Brad Marchand won't be playing.
But he's not going to play that night for Florida?
He's out for 3 weeks.
Doesn't seem like
not a hockey guy. Not a hockey guy.
We would be comfortable with the Missouri guard/tackle Armand Membu at number 4. The question here from Rob is, assuming Abdul Carter and Travis Hunter, everyone's favorite blue chips of blue chips, are gone, the pick is 4. The Patriots mostly address offensive line and free agency. If they trade down, the Tom Curran plan of 2024 gets implanted and used in 2025. Who are you looking at pick 8, 9, and 10, presuming they don't go that far back in a trade back scenario?
Then I think it can start to look to edge. If you've addressed tackle, I think you're opened up and freed up to, you can look at edge, or you can look at, for instance, if you want to trade back a little bit, even to 10 or 11, how about Tyler Warren from Penn State? Take a tight end. Have another target for Drake May. Hunter Henry's plus 30. Austin Hooper, we'll see exactly what he ends up doing in free agency himself. I would imagine the Patriots would want him back. But if that becomes the case with him, then you still need somebody who's young and is a dependable receiver. And, there are people, I think Daniel Jeremiah has Tyler Warren as the number 4 prospect on his top 100. So he's there. Not Mason Graham. Who's Mason? What's his face from LSU?
Mason Taylor, I think it is. Is it?
Yeah. And Loveland from
Colton Loveland. Yeah, from Michigan.
From Michigan. Yeah. So I think those are interesting options too. Maybe not at 11. Tyler Warren, though, stands apart. And then the defensive line and defensive end, the Georgia defensive end,
Jalen Walker.
Yep, I should have had my stuff open. I'm trying really.
You
hard.
got me, Tom. It's okay.
I'm trying really hard with Lent to not swear, and it's not been going good. But it's only day 2. But I'm starting to catch myself as they're about to come out.
Yeah, I don't know where he might be. I don't. Who knows? But
he was complaining about his wife not bringing him beer. So I don't know if
might
she was
be grabbing
on
a beer.
The delayed version of this podcast, but if she caught wind of that, she definitely just dragged him out of the show. Go get your own goddamn beer. Like, serve yourself.
I think there's a lot of attractive options if they do trade down, though, because then you even get into like the Tetero and McMillan category, category there, or Armand Membu, the Missouri offensive tackle. Yeah, like in an ideal world, Abdul Carter or Travis Hunter, which Field Yates laid out, like could be there at 4 for the Patriots. But I would say that if they're not, I would prefer to trade down a little bit. I look at the Saints at number 9. The Saints are a team that constantly moves way up, probably pays a little bit too much to go grab a guy that they love. They're in the market for a quarterback right now. So whether that's Shadur, whether that's, the third quarterback, whoever comes off the board there, I could envision a scenario where the Saints fall in love with someone, trade up to number 4, and then you're talking about potentially getting a second-round pick from the Saints. Then you wind up with 4, 5, 6 picks within the top 100. You're in pretty good shape there if you're rebuilding for the Patriots.
Yeah, and I think that's important to try and build the team because you have so many holes, as we've all pointed out time and time again. Like if I was prioritizing holes on offense, I would say it's left tackle, it's wide receiver, then it's right tackle. And you still, Cole Strange, I think, can be a working man's guard in the league. You have Robinson, you have Wallace, but I do think the tight end for Drake May in his development is critical. So I have broached a couple times this idea. See what you guys think.
Mm-hmm.
Trade Jumbo Joe Milton to the Raiders for Jacoby Myers and his $10 million contract. You bring Jacoby Myers back. He's playing for Josh McDaniels. He's on a manageable contract in the final year of that. You redo that contract. Maybe you bump him up to 15 or 16 because he's an 85 catch a year guy who gets about 900 yards. And he's wouldn't say shit if he had a mouthful.
I love Jacoby Myers. I'm a Jacoby Myers stan like you are as well, Tom. But obviously with the Geno Smith moving to the Raiders trade earlier tonight, do you think maybe Joe, would they take Joe Milton and like put him behind Geno for like a year or two of development, or like would he go? Maybe would Seattle be interested as well, and could that maybe mitigate that and a second to the Seahawks? You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
You know what screwed this up though is not that trade; it's the Christian Kirk trade where he went for a seventh and a higher salary, and they're comparable ages, both better out of the slot, play a little bit outside, bigger guys. Like I think it would be Milton in a pick for someone like him, but it feels like that dream is dead just with Geno Smith coming in because you're trading for him. You're like, okay, here are the keys. Like we're ready to go now.
Well, yeah. I still don't mind the idea because like if you're trading for Joe Milton, do you know that he can start from day one? Not really, right? He's still a developmental guy. And totally. what I like about Jacoby Myers, obviously experience with Josh McDaniels, but with Tyler Lockett out there, it seems like Pete Carroll is trying to find every former Seahawk he can possibly add to their roster. So if he looks at Tyler Lockett being available and says like he can play the slot for me about as well as Jacoby Myers, but I don't have to pay him $11 million or whatever it is. If I can pay him $4 or $5 million to do the same type of thing, then that does make Jacoby Myers a little bit more expendable for the Raiders. So that's a situation where he would even become available, because right now we don't know if Myers is available, but if he doesn't really fit what Pete Carroll's looking for, if Pete Carroll can find a better guy to do the same thing, then he becomes available. And he would be Drake May's security blanket out of the slot.
And the Joe Milton thing emerged because I think it was Bedard was talking on the Sports Hub a week or so ago about Joe Milton as a trade chip. And I was doing a wide receiver overview and trying to figure out, okay, how can they get better? And I was like, what's Jacoby Myers? So you look at it. So I just attached the two. But does that necessarily even have to happen to extract Jacoby Myers because of what Doug just laid out? If you said, hey, can we get Jacoby for a fifth out of you guys? It's a $10 million savings. I'm not sure what the cap hit is. I just think it's salary right now for the Raiders. It would be, I think that I would, watch that. They're going to have to be innovative to get guys in here. And that does mean trades. Because really the only two guys here in free agency who are jumping off the board, I think, to them are Godwin and to a much lesser extent, Davante Adams. Because as I said before, I think culture is virtually the number one thing that they want to surround their quarterback with. They don't want somebody coming back to the huddle, pressuring him and saying, well, we did it this way here, we did it this way there. Why am I not getting the ball? And I think that Adams, even though he's not a dink, I think that we saw a little bit when we saw the wide receiver documentary that was done, how pissed off he was getting with Jimmy Garoppolo and with McDaniels to a degree.
Oh, the hospital balls. Yeah, he was complaining. Yeah. I got to get the F out of here. I'm going to get killed.
Right. That's a great quote. So I would say that I would keep an eye on Jacoby Myers and that kind of a trade as opposed to the DK Metcalfs or AJ Browns, which I know that they have, made at least inquiries on AJ Brown and just tried to figure out how to extract him, but I don't think that's going to happen.
We did have one more question from Carlos in here, right? Our guy
Carlos talks Pats. He does a lot of.
He's awesome. Anything heard anything about Jedrick Willis during his time in Cleveland? Any connection between Vrabel and him? And Tommy, what do you think about Tet McMillan, the N'Keal Harry? Could he also be Megatron type guy who's coming out of Arizona? I'm a little leery myself, but I want to influence it. Okay, I thought so.
Who's the Ole Miss guy? Began with an L.
Oh, Laquan Treadwell.
Reminds me of Laquan Treadwell.
Ooh, that makes me.
But Laquan Treadwell was nasty in college. He had the beautiful frame. He was huge. He, would treat top guys the same way McMillan does. But I can see why McMillan is not is kind of gone from being the number one
2 games
layup guy. Yeah. In November to now, or even October to now you look at it and he's, a first rounder, ... Right. So to me, what does Drake May need? What kind of balls does he seem to excel at? I look at him, whether it be North Carolina or this past year with touchdown passes to Kayshon Boutte and outside to Austin Hooper. It's throws outside the numbers, downfield, especially to the right. You're not going to run Demario Douglas on that. You're not going to run Jacoby Myers on that. You're probably not going to run You'd prefer not to run Kayshon Boutte on that. You need somebody who's 6'3" or 6'4". I know we're just spitballing, but I'd go sign DeAndre Hopkins to do that stuff too. I've always been enamored of DeAndre.
Wow.
So Doug and I reported last week that someone in the front office who's in kind of the inner circle is high in Ted McMillan. And I think if they do go trade back, where it seems like Doug and I are leaning independently here of what they should do it for, he seems to be a target. I'd also say he aligns most importantly, like above all of that stuff, with what Vrabel has been saying on the record about what he wants in receivers. Contested catch guys. He mentions it every single time he's talking about receivers, big bodies who can go and do that. And I asked an executive at the Combine last week in India and said, hey, everyone in New England, where you're not right now, is getting like the little N'Keal Harry PTSD. He goes, much better ball skills. It's not run after catch stuff against the South Dakota states of the world that Arizona State was running over in September, got to conference schedule, and then had trouble with. He was like, Ted McMillan balled out. I'm not confident that he'll be the pick at 4. I don't think I'd even love it. But if they do trade back, I'm more comfortable with a guy that you give him the opportunity, give him a little bit of time, and he's a little bit more natural there as a fluid mover, even if he's not a separator like N'Keal wasn't.
Take care. Shit happens. Thank you for being here. This is fun. I feel so badly that I showed up late.
Tommy, this is so much fun to just be able to operate, converse, prognosticate, and
but it's nice to talk to people too who are popping in who names you've seen on Twitter.
That's what it is. That's why this is so joyful.
On McMillan, here's the thing about Harry. And I do spend a lot of time, I think, as the people who are out there listening, Curran is constantly going back in time and talking nonstop about the shit that went wrong. And I am, because some of it is so mind-numbing. I mean, you look at a guy in N'Keal Harry who, by his seed, he came from, was it Turks and Caicos?
Sure.
He came to live with his grandmother.
Yeah. Born in Canada, but
10-15, I don't care, sir, from Fitzy. Just
sure.
But I mean,
it's 10-15. I've had 3 beers. Yeah,
he had a concussion.
More like
in high
jerks
school,
and
he was that close to saying, I don't want to play football.
Right.
He was extremely strong, well built. It's just he did not check enough of the intensity boxes to be drafted. And you can go right down the line with the wide receivers the Patriots have drafted. Everyone has had a dent. And honest to God, since 1977, I can roll through the guys who've been Pro Bowlers. Stanley Morgan, Irving Fryer, Terry Glenn, and then the best other guys are Branch, Edelman, and Demario Douglas. Those are the 6 best receivers taken since 1977 by this team. If you want to throw in David Gibbons, I'll let you do it. But
in that one season of Malcolm Mitchell.
Right. And I mean, and he didn't contribute until the friggin' San Francisco game. God bless him. I remember that game. It was a nice catch and run. I was very excited, but it didn't turn into much after, except for a Super Bowl.
It's true. No, yeah. I mean, obviously they have to change what they're doing at wide receiver. And like, to your point, Andrew, it is like thinking back to watching N'Keal Harry before the draft and even after the draft there, it was a lot of run after catch stuff. It was stuff that clearly just didn't, transcribe to the NFL, or it didn't, couldn't move over to the NFL and do some of the same things. So I don't know. I'm not fully sold on Ted McMillan, but like you said, Andrew, we did hear that there was someone who was impressed with him at the Combine, impressed in his interview with the Patriots. And I don't know how much weight that's going to wind up carrying by the time the draft rolls around. We're still almost 2 months away at this point. But certainly someone else that they could trade down for in that
Doug, if I may, while we have Tom. So Tom, I have this idea, like, they took N'Keal Harry when they should have taken AJ Brown. So you missed one guy in 2019.
Right.
And then you now have a chance to get after DK Metcalf, who was available to you in 2019. You could have had Debo. He went somewhere else now. He's at the Commanders. Every one of these guys you should have drafted in 2019 was available to you. You missed out on. Now they're somewhere else. This is the last guy from the 2019 wide receiver draft that's available to you. Do you think they should go get DK Metcalf? And what is the highest price you would pay?
I would send them a second rounder, because you have to pick up his contract, and they're looking for a first and a third, which is lunacy. And
well, he wants $30 million reportedly, which is a lot.
It is a lot. He is a good player, and that is the going rate for a good player. I mean, T. Higgins, when he does get his deal, is probably going to be over $35 million.
Right.
Now he's going to be I know it's if he hit the open market, now he's been franchised. We'll see if he even gets that. But to me, it's so insane how these guys are being paid. You have to get your mind around. When I started covering the NFL I remember 2006 when I went to, I think it was NBC Sports, the cap was 84 million. It's not that long ago. It kind of is. But I remember saying, wow, 84 million. Now it's 280 in 20 years. And that's mammoth growth. I'll ask you this too.
Mm-hmm.
You had a question that you sent me, Andrew, that you were going to propose, and I thought was an interesting one. How much longer will Robert Kraft continue to be the forward-facing
great question
representative of the Patriots? And my answer is, he doesn't seem to me. There are occasions when I think that he has hiccups at the mic, but there are also occasions when he is off the cuff and pretty seamless.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think 80 is what 80 used to be. Some people it is, some people it isn't. I don't think he's inclined to do that, but I do wonder this. Has the age of the maverick or solid solo NFL owner passed? Are we in the winter of that era?
Ooh,
because I think we might be. I mean, it's $280 million. You have to write $30 million. You have to put $140 million in escrow.
you mean they have to be more like Bezos and Josh Harrison, like these clean contemporary
or just keep
multi-gazillionaires?
Keep selling off your team so it's a coalition of people who own your team.
Right. Raiders situation.
Yeah, it's just a group of people who are owning a team. The days of Jerry Jones and Robert Kraft, and I think we're closing in on a period of time when people are saying, why am I putting $140 million in escrow for Trevor Lawrence so I can pay him $55 million a year if you're Shad Khan? I would cash the hell out if I was an owner right now.
A lot of those owners that you're describing too, like Jerry Jones, Robert Kraft, Mike Brown, like those guys are getting up there in age. So, obviously, yeah, when they do have to step down from being the most public facing people of the franchise, then yeah, maybe you do start to see some minority owners like Tom Brady become more of the face of the franchise and the real owner steps back a little bit. So it is interesting. Yeah.
You look at the Celtics. I mean, there's a reason that Wick Grossbeck's dad and the rest of the family, like, you know what? It's a little too ritzy for us. In essence, it seems to be basically the mindset. So I just look at professional sports now with the way it has exploded and the fact that live sports is the number one seller of ad time and the number one most bankable asset, not just television, but every platform. And you look at it and go, should I get out now? Just cop this thing up. So I wonder what will happen. I just found it
so valuable. Teams are so valuable that like how many one-off owners can even buy them at this point? Like if you're the Waltons, if you own Walmart, then yes, you can buy an NFL franchise. But other than that, there's only a handful of people who have the liquid assets to even buy an NFL franchise at this point.
Well, to that point, because they're starting to horn in a little bit, and I think it'll be only a matter of time. Like private equity is one thing where groups can buy 10% of the team and you sell them to kind of a firm. Like the Saudis are around the corner. And I don't say that as like, like there's something about the Saudi Arabians.
No,
it's just like, you want to talk about
you're not wrong. You're not wrong.
Old oil money. Those are the few people on planet Earth that would have that kind of money. And it's, prevalent in the EPL and a lot of different international soccer leagues. And then it's a matter of, okay, what are you valuing here? Like for the Crafts to an extent or certain other franchises, like winning drove everything. Others see it as strictly a business venture. And then once you involve more people, I think you'll reach more of a median consensus of the people who are competitive versus those who just see it as a business. And you're going to get something kind of down the middle. But either way, I think to the point of like the Maverick owners, we're going to do it like this. Al Davis, F the expenses. This is what it is. Just win, baby. I think it's a good point. Like this is going to be, diversified in a way in terms of the people involved in the ownership. But the attitude as a result of that diversification will become similar because everyone's going to get a little bit of a say and you'll have to make compromises in the middle.
Yeah, I just thought it was interesting. It's just so much for these owners. And they have it, obviously. They're billionaires, but sometimes you're a paper billionaire. I have a $6 billion asset. How liquid are you with that $6 or $7 billion asset when you have to write a $33 million a year salary with guaranteed money to Trey Hendrickson, who's another guy.
Yeah. Whose salary could actually amount to what Robert Kraft paid for the Patriots 30-something years ago, Tom.
Yeah, it's wild.
I've seen a couple of comments in here saying the Patriots should trade down from 4 to 18 and pick up DK Metcalf. It'll be a pick swap. It's a little too rich for my blood, I think.
I don't like the Ayuk trade idea at the start of August. I think Tom called me crazy on TV, as most everyone else did, including a couple executives. I don't know what the 49ers are picking, but they could have had Ayuk and whatever the 49ers are picking.
Are we talking pick swap and DK Metcalf? Please, yes, and thank you. It's a
first round pick. You can drop 14 spots in the first round. You go down from Will Campbell to Mike Green.
I don't think I would do it. One other note on wide receivers. The Patriots are going to be in this market for like a top end wide receiver. Let's say like they trade for DK Metcalf, they have to sign him to a contract. They have to be praying that Jamar Chase doesn't sign a contract before all that happens, because Jamar Chase is going to absolutely blow up the wide receiver market. Jamar Chase is probably going to sign for like $40 million a year, and then that just raises every other wide receiver salary in the meantime. So they should be hoping that Jamar Chase doesn't sign until right before week 1.
Another really interesting thing when you look at the Patriots and what they're going to have to confront, this is the second year of Drake May's rookie contract. In 2 years, you're going to be in a situation where he's going to be a $60 million a year player. And he's going to be contemplating, how can we get that done? Are we going to move on? We're going to have him in his walk year and, into his pick up his 5th-year option. We're going to franchise him. You can hold him for 6 years. So it's not too early. It is a little too early to talk about it, but if you're budgeting, okay, where are we going to be if we sign Chris Godwin in 4 years when he's 33? Do you sign Chris Godwin to a 3-year deal for $110 million? There's a lot of different things that have to factor in. Plus, you're going to now have a 4th overall pick who most likely is going to be a good player. Say it's Travis Hunter. Say it's Abdul Carter. You want to have the opportunity to have, oh my God, how do we pay both of these guys? Because that means they ended up being good players. Mm-hmm. But this era, I think, of them being, and it sucks too. 3 years ago, they were in the same spot in 2021, 4 years at this point, where they're walking around $172 million in cap space, or they spent $172 million in guaranteed money on free agents because Tom Brady was off their books. Mm-hmm. They haven't had to pay a quarterback since Tom Brady left, and they never paid Tom Brady. When you think about it.
Can you believe, Tom, I hate to interrupt. Can you believe we're sitting here talking about like Godwin for 25 plus, 30 plus for Ronnie Stanley, and you and I and several other people were just banging drums for like, hey, can Tom Brady get something related to the Drew Brees deal, please? Because he's the greatest quarterback of all time. And they didn't do it and it's still to this day, just twist my ankles.
Yeah. And I think that the irony in that I remember and looking at and saying it was so specifically directed to the Patriots was when he signs a 2-year, $25 million a year contract with Tampa Bay. Exactly what he was asking for, just to prove the point. This is what I was asking for. Yep. And they wanted to go year to year. So anyway, Daisy, my husky, says, I would not take Godwin at any price at this point. Hates a dislocated ankle.
Well, he's had more beer than Fitzy and I have. If that's true, that's not fair. I have a question here for Tom, because this was a $50 super chat for Ryan, and we were talking with Field Yates about the worst fantasy football punishment. So, Tom, you finished last in the league. This is what you have to do before the start of the next league year. This guy describes a punishment where you finish last, you have to drive to Canada, buy a 6-pack of beer, and come home with the paper receipt. Oof. Do you have any A, analysis of that punishment, or B, other ones off the top of your head or things you've heard of? Because Fitzy suggested a whole pot around this in the field. And I
think the fantasy punishment podcast would be fantastic.
I think that's brilliant. I know that there was one that I saw where you had to caddy for the person who won. You had to carry his bags and wear a dress, I think, which is amusing. Mm-hmm. One of my sons
love that. I kind of love
one of my sons has a tattoo of a train on his ass because he was a big Thomas the Tank Engine guy, and he lost. And the guy who comes in last had to get a tattoo on his ass. And he has a tiny little train. I'm not going to say which one. I've got 3 of them, but one of them has a little tiny tattoo of a train on his buttocks.
Now, are you sure it's Thomas?
It might be so top of hat.
Oh, it's Henry. Oh, no.
Are you sure it's Thomas there, Thomas?
Causing confusion and delay.
That's incredible, man.
That's fantastic.
Well,
I like the fact that Michael Hurley came on and said that he's thinking about joining a fantasy league just so he can do the punishment where he sits in Waffle House all day. And I'm kind of with him. I think that the Waffle House, IHOP, those type of punishments where like you get an hour off how long you have to stay in there for every like pancake or waffle you eat. Sounds like kind of a good time, honestly.
That's a great time. I mean, I love Waffle House. You get your smothered covered.
Yeah.
And if you have never been to a Waffle House, make sure you get to a Waffle House because that's just shoveling food. Just shovel. Make sure you go before 10, maybe even 9 o'clock.
Yeah.
Yeah. If Tom Curran has $100 gift certificate to a restaurant, where's he going?
Oh, $100?
Got $100. You and the missus, maybe 1 or 2 of the kiddos is home
Let's go
from
200.
school, work, whatever.
Let's go
All right,
200.
let's go 200. Like you have a gift certificate for a proper dinner.
It's going to be a steakhouse because I don't like anything from the sea.
Mm.
And I'm going to get a nice big fat ribeye.
You're a ribeye guy. I know that. I know you're a ribeye.
I'm going to get a medium rare ribeye.
All right, maybe we're at Davio's. Okay.
Yeah, an onion soup, a medium rare ribeye, either a loaded baked potato or, loaded mashed, and probably the side of broccoli, which I'll just eat the tops off because I know I should have some greens. And then I'm going to have a big piece of chocolate cake.
You're speaking my language here, Tom.
Wow.
I keep it really simple. I mean, the people are getting these little bugs from the sea. I have a lobster. I've never had that. My family's all down the Cape. My in-laws, my brother-in-law's has been a fisherman in Chatham for like his whole family for eons. And they're all excited about lobsters and oysters and calamari. I'm like, oh, can't do it.
You described my like back-to-back meals in Indianapolis, like pretty much to a T with those 2 ribeye meals. So Harry and Izzy, shout out to Harry and Izzy, shout out to Ocean Air. Had some good food in Indianapolis last week, actually.
Yeah, once you find a place, you keep going back. I kept going to Buca de Beppo's last year in Las Vegas. It was on the 2nd floor of my hotel. I think I was in the what's the pyramid one? Luxor.
Mm-hmm.
I was in the Luxor. Every single day I went up to Buca de Beppo's for the same dinner every time.
You know what, Tom, though? We had to pick Phil up. Doug and I did like 3 a.m. off the sidewalk outside of Hooters, just drooling. We got to talk to that guy about how he handles his combine. It seems like the combine runs him rather than
classic Perry.
Yeah.
Phil and I were on a rickshaw back in 2011 at the combine after we finished up at Ike and Jonesy's. Was it Ike and Jonesy's? Remember that place?
No.
Where's that? In Indianapolis?
It was in Indy.
Okay.
Yeah, Phil and I took a rickshaw back to the JW.
Wow.
Must be nice.
Good days.
Tom's got rickshaw money. Well, listen,
Ike and
Tom.
Jonesy's. Right. Thank you, producer.
We are finishing at 10:30 tonight. We have 10,600 live viewers. We've had an incredible evening of so many great guests. You've been more than generous with your time.
Yes, thank you so much, Tom.
Post golf sim,
more than made up for the delay.
I am so sorry.
And the book that you're reading right now, because I know we like to talk about this on EEI, and then we occasionally exchange some texts. The book that you're currently reading right now, you would recommend that all of our listeners or our viewers read.
I just finished East of Eden. You know what? I'll give you 2 books if you want to find a really, really, really funny book to read. Mm-hmm. It's called Bonk by a woman named Mary Roach. She also wrote a book called Stiff.
Mm-hmm.
And Stiff is a nonfiction book. It's called The Strange and Curious Lives, isn't probably the word, of cadavers. What happens after you die through history. And Bonk is a scientific study of the way humans have studied sex through the years. Bonk is absolutely beyond description, funny and interesting. So Bonk,
Bonk, and what was the other one?
Bonk and Stiff.
Stiff, gotcha.
By Mary Roach, R-O-A-C-H. Mm-hmm. I just finished East of Eden, and my old buddy Mary Paletti. You remember?
Oh, Paletti! Oh, amazing, Paletti.
I texted her.
Represent Mary Paletti. Yeah,
you're a kingmaker. By the way, Tom's a kingmaker. Everybody everyone that works with Felger or used to on NBC Sports Boston is in trauma recovery. Everyone that works with Tom Curran, like, has gone on to host shows and be national superstars. So you're the true kingmaker, Tom.
Yeah, no, I mean, Gerard, things worked out for a while for him, and then not so much.
That's the perfect note to end on.
No, I just love the 10 people that jumped on as Tom was describing the books, and they got cadaver talk and then the study of sex over time, and then we have 40 people bail. It's just like, what the hell happened for all of us this time?
I thought they were talking football.
I know. I mean, they're late. They're later than you were, but like, just.
Hey,
I love it.
To the people, you said there's 10,000 people listening?
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
Hey, to all the people out there who are listening, I've been doing this. It'll be my 27th or 28th season, and I could not believe how lucky I've been, because growing up in Pembroke, Massachusetts, all I ever wanted to do was write for the Patriot Ledger. And eventually all I wanted to do was write for the Globe, and all I wanted to do was cover the Patriots when I realized I couldn't play. So this has been, for the folks who are out there wondering, do these people even appreciate the opportunity they have had? I can speak for all four of us, I know. We are like you are in terms of our love for the sport and our love for the team. And we do maintain our objectivity in reporting on them, but we were all where you were and are still in terms of wanting the team to do well. We would all prefer the team to do well. We're not rooting. We're going to say when they suck, but it's much easier when they're good. So we appreciate you guys listening and following all of our shit.
100%. In 2011, I almost got fired from my 9-to-5 job for using up my 40 hours a week to write for anypatriotsdraft.com for free rather than do the job they were paying me to do. So back then this was the dream, and now I've been doing it for 10 plus years. And yeah, it's still the dream.
We know how lucky we are. Honestly,
Sure.
we do.
Yes.
We do. I'm grateful every day that I wake up and then I see my kids and I know my day is already a W. And when I get a chance to do things like this and we can redirect it, Tom, back to a good cause,
Absolutely.
chef's kiss. You have a great night, brother. And thanks so much for joining us. Everybody follows him already at Tommy Curran and watches him on NBC Sports Boston, listens to the Patriots Talk podcast, but it's always a pleasure. And we look forward to catching you soon, pal.
All right, guys. Thanks
Thank you,
again
Tom.
for having me. Take care.
Much love, buddy. Be good. Guys,
All right.
Over 3 hours, almost 11,000 live viewers.
Huge.
Amazing. Once again, if anyone watches this, if you stayed for all 3 hours, thank you. Thanks for watching. Thanks for participating in the chat. Thanks for donating. Thanks for telling your friends. Thanks for everything you've done. If you happen to watch this on replay or catch any clips on Twitter, Instagram, or beyond, once again, you can donate at Faxon Productions on Venmo. We appreciate all your super chats. We'll try to see if we have any last ones we have to answer before we wrap up. But anything you guys want to do would be amazing. And we're going to have some more events. We'll have a golf outing this summer. We're going to have a live post-draft something, or pre or post-draft. We haven't decided yet, right, guys?
I think it's to be post-draft.
Post-draft,
Well,
okay.
Pre-draft live event. We might do another one of these
I mean, we
post-draft.
just have to
Yeah.
get the
It's gonna be
details out.
both.
Definitely post-draft.
It's going to be a pool or a pond for you, Carl. It doesn't matter. We're going to have a couple more events coming up, which is great. Shout out once again, Mego, DMAC, Michael Hurley, Bill Barnwell, Field Yates, Tom E. Curran, Michael Hurley, and of course, the great
Reiss.
almighty and powerful Mike Reiss.
Taylor Kyles.
Taylor
Shout out
Kyles.
to CLNS for building this live stream for us too. That's been great.
Can't thank them enough. Like, just honestly, guys, we had a modest goal in mind of what we were hoping to raise tonight to try to steer towards the people that have to spend unbelievably arduous hours in laboratories, in research laboratories, doing things that they do to try to stop cancer. And you guys have far exceeded what we hoped to do tonight. So thank you so much. And like Callahan said, I think almost a full viewing of The Brutalist ago, because we've been on for a while now.
No intermission.
Yeah, with no, I took 2 intermissions to pee.
Yeah, he did.
But
I did 0.
I did. Yeah, you guys went full Scott Hansen. I had to pee twice. But this is awesome work, and it goes to a good cause. And I hope, well, we would love to never do it again, but we might have to. So, guys, any final thoughts?
No, I think we've covered everything. But thank you again so much to everyone who watched, who was a guest, who donated, who passed along the word. It means the world. So yeah, thanks so much to everyone.
Yeah, it means a lot. I think over time, and you say the same things over and over again, whether it's thank you or you're welcome or this is important to that, like it kind of loses its effect. The dollars go to the best place possible. These are kids. These are real families that we are trying to help. Doctors trying to help against a disease that is not going to relent. But the good news is, with your support, neither will we. And so thank you from the bottom of our hearts and somewhere in the middle or top of your wallets for helping us out, because every dollar matters, every day matters, every live stream that we do matters. But this reach only goes as far as it reaches you, and you feed back to us. So thank you for your time, energy, money. Please donate at Venmo, as we've described, Faxon Productions, FAXON. You can Venmo through the weekend as we record here on Friday the 7th, or obviously the YouTube Super Chats. And I've already gotten a long email because we had a 71-year-old man who, of course, subscribed to the Herald, but had trouble with YouTube. So I need to get back to him to tell him how to use the Super Chat.
There we go.
But it's, I don't know, the best shows are a blend of serious, funny, and informative. And I hope we did that for you here today. But I just, it's touching to me, to Doug, to Fitzy. It means a lot. So we are just so grateful.
This is life well lived. It was a great chance to get a chance to hang out and talk football with some of our best pals, people you guys work with, your peers, the ones that everybody that was watching look up to. You guys, thanks so much. We'll try to do it again. I hope the next time we do it, we don't have to do it for cancer research, but if we have to, we'll keep doing it. We will be dogged in our approach, just like the Patriots will be in making a better team, and just like you guys will be in being the best fans possible. So much thanks to Amit, to John Zanis, and everyone at CLNS Media for making this possible tonight. They did yeoman's work, the Lord's work, for putting this together. My brother Joffrey over handling all of the Venmo donations tonight. Trish Kennedy for her $2,000 donation to kick things off tonight.
Huge.
And to all of our amazing guests as well. Thank you guys so much. Hope you had a great time. Enjoy the podcast, enjoy the clips, enjoy the rewatch on Facebook and beyond, and enjoy the opportunity to have the best life possible, and look forward to your New England Patriots again.